Chapter 15. Bastard, I'll tear you apart. A grand expert of the Heaven Sect city had actually been plotted against by a brat. Wu Dezhang stood up, trembling with fear. He wished he could grind Su Fang's bones to dust. Seeing the Wu family Su die and the rest of the Wu family staring at him, he suddenly felt a kind of desolation. Su Ting was heavily injured with the help of a few people. Fang kill this man. Wu Dezhang is vicious and merciless. He didn't even spare the old, the weak, the women, and the children. Even your grandfather was injured by him. You're Su Yaotian's son. Wu Dezhang suddenly realized Su Fang's identity. Since uncle gave the order, I naturally wouldn't let him live. Su Fang bowed, his eyes emitting cold lightning. I heard that you and my father were experts from the same era. You're worthy of my respect. Release your strongest attack, and I'll let you die with dignity. Su Yaotian really is better than me in every aspect. Even his son is so outstanding. To think that I, Wu Dezhang, who has dominated my entire life, will die at the hands of a brat like you. I'll let you see my famous killing move. People like Wu Dezhang had always done things without leaving any leeway. He knew that one day, he would die anyway, and dying with dignity was the best ending for Wu Dezhang. Bang! Wu Dezhang's right hand had been destroyed by the sword fragment. Now that he waved his left arm, his physical strength that had almost reached the peak of the Qi-eating realm, as well as the energy within his body, unleashed a power that could shatter the night sky. His left hand was like an icy divine weapon. It felt like it could destroy anything. Picoteon. Su Fang released all of his strength through his right arm. When it passed through his right wrist, which was where the purple light had entered, he suddenly felt a huge force coming from there. Could it be that the purple light in my right arm can be released? He hadn't expected that when he needed power, the purple light in his right arm would release its energy. It merged with his physical strength and Hotian inner strength, condensing into his right palm. Child, I'll send you to see your short-lived father. If he wasn't short-lived, my Wu family wouldn't have been able to take down the family Su today. Prepare to die. Wu Dezhang was still confident in his own strength and killer moves. In front of all the stunned and frightened family Su members, his every step seemed to shake the entire family Su martial hall. Moreover, every step he took could create a pit. This was the strongest man in Tianzong City. Whoosh! Su Fang flew out as fast as lightning. His fist collided with Wu Dezhang's left palm, which he had thrown out with all his strength. Pa-pa-hum, the big black palm and the fist collided, bursting out a burst of momentum. A ring of blood-colored aura passed through Wu Dezhang's left palm and immediately wrapped around his forearm, then swept towards his entire body. With a crackling sound, his black clothes were torn to shreds, and he staggered back 3 steps. I'm at the 10th transformation of the Qi-Eater realm. How can you be my match? Wu Dezhang couldn't move anymore. It was obvious that the meridians in his arm were exploding. At this moment, all the meridians in his body were shattered by Su Fang's divine power. Even if he didn't die, he would be a cripple for the rest of his life. My father is an expert. How can I, as his son, be weak? Su Fang walked past Wu Dezhang with a burning gaze. Su Junyan immediately shouted to everyone, Hurry up and leave Tianzong City. Su Fang hurried to Su Ting. Uncle, where's my grandfather? Your grandfather. Su Ting seemed to know that Su Fang would ask this question. He was at a loss for words and stuttered a few times. When the family Su members were leaving, a dozen frozen corpses were left on the ground. One of them had white hair and was lying among the corpses. Grandfather! With quick steps, Su Fang rushed to Bai's corpse and hugged it in his arms. This was because this white man was his grandfather who loved him the most. A portion of the family Su members who had yet to leave the martial hall heard Su Fang's cries of despair. They sighed and shook their heads. They all wanted to persuade him but were stopped by Su Ting. Su Ting knelt down and kowtowed to the corpse. He also shed tears. Your grandfather is Uncle's father. Uncle hasn't been able to sleep these past few days. Fong before your grandfather closed his eyes, he kept talking about you. He told you to live well. Let's leave quickly. If we don't leave soon, the Wu family will arrive and all of us will die. Do you want your grandfather to be unable to rest in peace? Grandfather. Su Fong couldn't listen. He thought of his grandfather's kind smile from when he was young. When he was weak and sick, he would stay by his side every night to watch over him. His grandfather had never stopped worrying about him. He was both a father and a mother, raising him just like that. Su Fong couldn't remember what his parents looked like. They only existed in his imagination and memories. Thus, his grandfather was his heaven and earth. His heaven and earth collapsed at this moment. Amidst the heavy snow and cold wind, Su Fong tightly protected his grandfather's cold body. Grandfather is just asleep. Su Junyan brought a few men and ran into the martial hall. Clan head, everyone has left. Let's go. But this, Su Ting looked at Su Fong. How could he bear to part with him just like that? Give it to me. Suddenly, he saw someone holding a wooden stick. With a loud shout, he hardened his heart and aimed the wooden stick at Su Fong's neck to choke him. With a bang, Su Fong was hit by the stick. His body slowly fell down, but he still maintained the posture of hugging his grandfather. It turned out that his 5 fingers had scratched himself so hard that his bones could be seen. Su Junyan and the rest were shocked by what they saw. Su Ting's heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. He gritted his teeth and said, "Carry Fong and the corpse and leave." Su Junyan forcefully separated Su Fong's hands and carried him on his back. 2 other men carried his grandfather's frozen body and left the family Su martial hall together. My family Su will be back. The moment they left the door, Su Ting looked at the collapsed vine pillar that symbolized the heaven-touching gate and the bloodstains everywhere. He turned around and disappeared into the snow with the rest. Purple Chi Mountain, Tomb Temple Gu. The Tomb Temple Hall was filled with people. Fortunately, the Tomb Temple was big enough to accommodate more than 100 family Su people. Now that the Tomb Temple was on fire, everyone could finally feel the warmth and sleep well. Stone house on the left, the medicine vat was bubbling. Su Junyan poured a bucket of water and asked someone to place Su Fong in it to continue soaking in the medicine. Look at this child. His hands, legs, and entire body are covered in thick calluses. Look at his martial arts posture. He has been on the mountain for more than a year. It seems like he has been cultivating all the time. When Su Ting came to the medicine vat, his gaze landed on Su Fong's body. He sighed helplessly in front of a few people. Su Junyan also regretted it. Even adults like us can't do this. We really didn't care enough for this child back then. We should have guided him carefully. Even if he didn't change at all, at least he had something to rely on. It's been 3 days. He has been unconscious for 3 days. If not for this medicine vat, Fong might have left this world due to excessive sadness and melancholy. Su Ting felt that he had let down Su Fong. This child had lost his parents at a young age. As a self-proclaimed father, he had only taken care of him according to his own wishes. He had never truly thought about it from Su Fong's point of view. What exactly did he need? This child worked hard and achieved result. He was able to kill Wu Dezhang. Brother Yaotian's spirit in heaven will also rest in peace. I hope he wakes up soon. Is the grave ready? Patriarch, don't worry. I am personally in charge. Old Master will sleep well. Good. Let's go to the hall and let this child have a good rest. Several family Su elders left the stone house with heartache. They closed the door and warned everyone not to speak loudly so as not to disturb Su Fong. Outside the tomb, Su Yi, Su Xiaolong, and the other youths shouldered the heavy responsibility of protecting the patriarch. Some of them were patrolling, while others were hunting. It seemed that after experiencing the extermination of their clan, they had all grown up. Deep in the night, why am I back? In a room filled with medicinal fragrance, Su Fang woke up from his deep sleep. He didn't feel tired. He looked around, but couldn't remember. After a while, his eyes became moist. He was silent for a long time. He didn't shed a single tear. It was as if he had become an adult overnight. He slowly left the medicine vat and put on his clothes. He stroked the broken sword fragment. This time, he was able to kill Wu Dezhang mostly because of this sword fragment. Otherwise, with his Hotian realm, he still wouldn't be Wu Dezhang's opponent. After drinking a few more mouthfuls of water, he slowly walked to the bed and sat down. After a moment of sadness, his nose became sour. It's time to start preparing to break through to the third realm of the physical body. As long as I step into the third realm, with this magic treasure fragment, even if I meet Wu Dezhang again, I can kill him. He quietly opened the door. At this time, everyone was sleeping soundly. He could even smell the fragrance of meat. It seemed that no one was hungry. After leaving the tomb, he saw people patrolling around. There were also a few pheasants hanging on the side. Suddenly, his heart warmed. If everyone was united, they would definitely be able to survive this life and death calamity. He silently walked through the snow and entered the mountain forest. He came to the cliff where he used to practice martial arts. In the end, the snow covered everything. He could only see the lonely rope on the cliff. He had no choice but to walk deeper into the mountain forest. After more than a year on the mountain, he had already familiarized himself with the surroundings. When he was near the back of the mountain, a cave appeared in front of him. When he arrived at the cave, he immediately began refining his essence into qi. The inner strength in his body had already reached the peak of the Hotian realm. His blood and qi had also surpassed the past. He now began to control all of the blood and Hotian inner strength in his body. Using his muscle layer as a channel, his blood qi and acquired inner strength fused together and began to surge quickly. His muscle layer had actually become a channel comparable to the meridians, and the flow of energy was only slightly slower than the meridians. What did this mean? Su Fang's physical body had already surpassed the majority of martial artists. He had reached the height of Wu Dezhang. Others had meridians, but he had such a heaven-defying physical body. Combined with the ancient body cultivation method, he had already embarked on an ancient path of cultivation. After a while, Su Fang slowly opened his eyes. He gritted his teeth. All of his muscles seemed to be tense. With a loud shout, his muscles immediately relaxed. The energy and blood and qi from the peak of the Hotian realm suddenly began to disperse and attack his flesh and blood. Zzz, his body seemed to be filled with countless streams of air. Blood could be seen rushing through his meridians. His body seemed to be torn apart. Large amounts of dark red blood seeped out of his pores, emitting a foul stench. Pain and bitter cultivation have finally paid off. Mortal, I, Su Fang, have achieved a miracle that even the ancients could not achieve. I have stepped into the third realm. At this moment, although he was still in the midst of the energy surge, Su Fang was so excited that he could not stop laughing. This was because he had become a mortal body cultivator. He was not a qi-eater martial artist, but a body cultivator from ancient times. The black blood was still seeping out. The cave was also filled with a foul stench. Fortunately, this was not a sealed space. Otherwise, Su Fang would not be able to endure it. Chapter 16. Mortal. The third realm of an ancient body cultivator represented the mortal saint realm. After going through the Xiantian and Hotian realms, it was like a mortal's cultivation and transformation process. But once you stepped into the mortal realm, it meant that you no longer had the power of a mortal. So mortal, it was rumored that there were experts in the ancient era who were called saints. Their power was boundless, and because they had left the mortal realm, any kind of power could destroy heaven and earth. The turbulence of time and the reincarnation of the heavenly Daos had allowed civilization to pass down to the present. No one would have thought that Su Fang was walking down the path of an ancient body cultivator. After 3 days, the disgusting bloodstains finally disappeared. Su Fang's body also returned to normal. The instant he stood up, a vigorous aura was slowly released from his pores. He took off his clothes and walked into the snowy sky. He grabbed some snowflakes and wiped his body clean. Surprisingly, he didn't feel cold at all. Instead, he saw a tree leaf about 100 meters away that was slowly freezing. Not only did he see the process of the leaf freezing, but he even heard the crackling sound of ice. Could it be that after stepping into the mortal realm, my hearing, vision, and senses have all changed? He then looked around. As expected, he could clearly see small things 100 meters away. He was no longer afraid of the cold. His vision and hearing had all changed. Mortal, this was the power of an ancient body cultivator. Zzz. Suddenly, he heard an even more ear-piercing sound. Carefully looking into the depths of the forest, he saw a wild boar that was struggling to walk through the snow. I'm rich. This wild boar is probably over 100 kilograms. It's so fat. Thinking about how food was the most scarce in winter, he didn't hesitate. He grabbed a 5-kilogram rock and began to run through the snow. If someone saw that Su Fang wasn't running through the snow, but flying, that was because he didn't leave any footprints on the snow. That was because Su Fang's body had already reached the level of being as good as water. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, he was already 200 meters away. Separated by dozens of meters, he threw the rock at the wild boar's head. With a loud bang, the rock knocked the wild boar over. Blood immediately splashed onto the white snow. The wild boar roared a few times before it stopped breathing. Su Fang easily carried the 200-pound wild boar and walked out of the forest step by step. Seeing the pig blood flowing down, he did not waste it and directly drank it into his stomach. That was because he was also very hungry now. He hadn't eaten for a few days. Moreover, such warm pig blood was a luxury in this world of ice and snow. After returning to the cave, he took out his treasured sword and began to dissect the wild boar. The skin of the wild boar was also good stuff. In any case, he had kept whatever he could. Whoosh whoosh! Just as he was about to be done, a sudden gust of wind blew in the forest on the right, as though a snowstorm was about to descend. If that was the case, then it would be very dangerous. Su Fang curiously went outside to take a look and was immediately shocked. It was indeed a snowstorm, but it was caused by a huge black eagle flapping its wings. Su Fang looked at the big black eagle, which was bigger than an elephant. He was shocked. This is probably a legendary beast with a demonic nature. Whoosh whoosh! At this time, a tornado suddenly came from the other side of the sky and just happened to collide with the big black eagle. The big black eagle's body trembled in midair, and then a black shadow suddenly fell from the big black eagle's body. With a loud bang, the black shadow crashed onto the snowy ground, about 10 feet away from Su Fang. Human! At such a distance, and with Su Fang's current eyesight, what he saw was not an object, but a human figure falling down. It really is a demonic beast that specializes in catching humans as food. I wonder if that person is still breathing. He anxiously watched as the big black eagle struggled out of the tornado and prepared to fly down into the snow. Whoosh whoosh! Regardless of the consequences, he grabbed a piece of rock and threw it at the giant eagle with all his might. With his current physical strength, a rock weighing a few kilograms would have the force of 1,000 kilograms. Moreover, his speed was so fast that the big black eagle was startled and hastily flew up into the sky. Su Fang took advantage of this opportunity. In just 3 steps, he landed next to a bloody person. He hurriedly picked it up and ran back into the cave. As soon as he returned to the cave, the big black eagle swooped down again. Just like before, He grabbed a rock and threw it at the big black eagle. After a few exchanges, the big black eagle could only leave. Moreover, the cave was narrow and long. If he hid inside, the big black eagle wouldn't be able to hurt him. Su Fang was about to use his sword to call the big black eagle, but the big black eagle had already left. He wiped his sweat. This was the first time he had seen such a ferocious monster. That big black eagle is really special. Its claws are golden, and the feathers on its head are red. The big black eagle seemed to be unwilling to give up as it flew past. Instead, it allowed Su Fang to see the big black eagle's general appearance. It seemed that this legendary beast really did have power that mortals couldn't imagine. This person. Only after the big black eagle flew away did Su Fang crouch down and carefully examine the bloody person. He found that the bloody person was extremely ugly. Just how ugly was it? It should be said that it was extremely frightening. The bloody person's face looked as if it had been burned by a fire. There were also scars on the top of his head. Half of the bloody person's nose was also missing. It didn't look like it had been burned by a fire. Instead, the tip of his nose had been cut off by a sharp weapon. This person has most likely also experienced a life and death crisis. Fortunately, he only suffered some external injuries. The heavens must be looking after him to be able to survive. Su Fang didn't dare to look any longer. The bloody person's face was completely unrecognizable. In order to save the bloody person, he immediately took out the pig blood that was still warm from the wild boar's stomach. After rolling it up, he pointed it at the bloody person's slightly open mouth and gently twisted it. The pig blood dripped into the bloody person's mouth. The bloody person still had the strength to drink the blood. Its eyes were slightly open. It was unknown whether or not it had seen Su Fang clearly. In short, its eyes moved a few times and then stopped moving. He thought that the bloody person had died and had only fainted. He made a fire and brought the bloody person close to the fire. Looking at the bloody person, he left behind some wild boar meat and then disappeared into the forest. Tomb Temple, it's Su Fang who came back. He even brought back food. At the side of the snow forest, Su Xiaolong was passing by with a young man holding a crossbow. Unexpectedly, they saw a figure walking out. Although they were shocked, they still rushed forward. The patriarch was worried about you. You left for a few days without saying a word. The few of them came to the tomb temple. Su Xiaolong whispered a few words and then entered the tomb temple. Fang Su Ting heard the commotion and rushed over. When he saw Su Fang coming back with food, he was worried that he would disappear immediately. Therefore, he helped Su Fang put down the wild boar meat. During the process, Su Fang suddenly saw that Su Ting was panting after exerting his strength. "Uncle, what's wrong with your body? It seems like you can't exert any strength." Su Ting didn't know what to say. Su Junyan walked over and shouted angrily, "Wu Dezhong and Wu Yongyuan are too ruthless. After they caught us, they listened to the Lu clan and broke a part of the meridians of those who practiced martial arts, making it impossible for us to cultivate anymore. After destroying our cultivation, we will no longer be a thorn in their side. They are afraid that we will be sold to the Lu clan's mines and cause trouble." Another middle-aged man also shook his head dispiritedly. So, Su Fang couldn't get rid of his killing intent for a long time. He never expected that his uncle, Su Junyan, and the rest, the pillars of the family Su, would have their cultivation destroyed. This meant that the family Su had declined. Moreover, Su Fang felt this feeling the most. When he failed to break through to the next realm, his physical body was damaged and distorted. In fact, he couldn't cultivate either. He was living a life worse than death. He even thought of ending his own life. Now that powerful people like Su Ting also ended up in such a miserable state, one could imagine how he felt. "Uncle, I will definitely think of a way." Su Fang comforted him. Su Ting was gratified. He didn't expect that he would be worried about Su Fang now. Let nature take its course. It's good enough that you are still alive. As for you, I will bury your grandfather beside your parents' grave. Go and pay your respects. Grandfather. He thought that the corpse was left in Tianzong City. Su Fang hurriedly ran into the cemetery and came to his parents' grave. Sure enough, he saw a newly built grave. He immediately knelt down and tried his best to hold back his tears. Things in the world were hard to predict. Who would believe that the people buried in these 3 graves were Su Fang's closest relatives? Heavy snow continued to fall. After a long time, Su Fang slowly stood up. This time, he didn't cry. Instead, he rolled up his left hand and looked at the 3 scars. Why didn't God give me 3 years? Just 3 years. Revenge. This was the only word he could think of now. He silently left the snowy land and quietly disappeared. When he was about to return to the cave, he suddenly heard something. It was a hoarse coughing sound. It seemed that the bloody man had woken up. He went to the cave and saw that the bloody man had indeed woken up. However, he didn't have any strength and was eating bloody pork with both hands. When Su Fang entered the cave, the bloody man immediately wrapped a black cloth around his face, leaving only a pair of bottomless eyes. He hurriedly explained, I don't care. I didn't expect that such a young and promising man would save my life. The bloody man seemed to care about him very much. He looked at Su Fang with gratitude in his eyes. You and I are fated. You met me when I was at my most difficult time, and I happened to meet you. Don't eat it raw. I will start to roast it right away. Su Fang really didn't care that he had saved the bloody man. Instead, he felt a sense of sympathy for him. Maybe he was too lonely and needed someone to get through this difficult time together. The bloody man handed the unfinished pork to Su Fang and added a few pieces of wood. The fire was burning. Are you also a cultivator? Su Fang inadvertently glanced at the bloody man's arm and found that the wounds he had when he saved him before were gone. Moreover, the bloody man seemed to recover very quickly. He was energetic now. Not only that, Su Fang felt that the bloody man had a very special way of eating qi from his breath. The bloody man was slightly stunned. He approached the fire and sat almost opposite Su Fang. You can say that. I see that your eyes are powerful and your breath is very uniform. It seems that you are also cultivating. However, I can see that your situation is not optimistic. Although your body has now reached the 8th or even 9th tier of the qi-eating state, senior, you have good eyesight. In an instant, Su Fang had an illusion that he was seen through by the bloody man. He immediately saluted him with admiration. The bloody man said further, because I am a cultivator, I can see your situation. I don't know what kind of physical cultivation method you have cultivated. It's amazing. Your meridians are twisted and blocked, so you can't cultivate in the qi-eating state. However, you have cultivated your physical body to the peak of the qi-eating state. There is also a different kind of qi in your body. As soon as he said this, Su Fang was shocked by the bloody man. It should be known that even Wu Dazhang, Su Ting, and Su Junyan, these powerful people, couldn't see through his body. However, the bloody man in front of him could see through his body in just a moment. Too powerful. This means that the bloody man in front of him shouldn't be in the qi-eating state. Su Fang hurriedly asked, Senior, have you reached the legendary flesh-body state? Chapter 17. You even know about the flesh-embryo realm? The bloody man was curious. Su Fang was not in the mood to roast meat. He seemed to have other thoughts in his mind. Of course I know about it. Legend has it that my family Su's ancestor had also reached the flesh-embryo realm, but it was just a rumor. The head of the Lu family in Tianzong City, Lu Mingxiong, is also at the flesh-embryo realm. I have not heard of Tianzong City, but it is not easy for a flesh-embryo realm cultivator to appear in this place. The bloody man shook his head slightly. Senior, why were you caught by the giant eagle? I was at a place very far away from here. I was fighting a big goblin in the mountains and snatching its inner core. Who knew that I would be seriously injured and be attacked by a small demon? So be it, I slowly came here. Senior can fight and kill a big goblin? Then Senior must be from Tianmen province. So you know about the flesh embryo realm in Tianmen province. I forgot that this territory belongs to Tianmen province. I am also not from Tianmen province and can be considered a loose cultivator. However, I do know about Tianmen province. This is a very powerful force, especially their leader, the Tianmen Saint Emperor, who is an extremely powerful cultivator. Senior, can you accept me as your disciple? After asking so many questions, Su Fong suddenly knelt down in front of the bloody man. It turned out that he had long wanted to become a disciple, which was why he asked a series of questions. However, the bloody man was silent for a long time and did not say a word. Su Fong could not wait any longer. He thought about the current situation of his family and the fact that he had to go to Tianmen province to cultivate. He could not let go of this immortal fate. Senior, are you not willing? Accepting a disciple? I have never thought about it. The bloody man said casually. You and I are fated. Looking at you, it is as if I am looking at myself in the past. Then Senior, please accept me. I will definitely not disappoint you. Why do you want to be my disciple, or why do you want to cultivate? You have to give me a reason to believe you and accept you. I lost my parents when I was young. When I was about to be born, my father left Tianzong City and went to Tianmen province. There was no news of him after he left. When I was about to be born, my mother missed my father too much. She was depressed and fell ill, which led to a difficult labor, and she passed away. I was weak and sickly since I was young, so I was raised by my grandfather. When I finally reached the Chi-Eater state, it was discovered that I was born with blocked meridians, so I couldn't cultivate Chi-Eater. But I won't give up, because I want to become a cultivator and go to Tianmen province to find my father. I also want to find my family's lost artifact. Later, I heard that when I reached the 6th level of Chi-Eater state, I could enter Tianmen province to cultivate with the advantage of my physical body. So after several years of cultivation, I stepped into the 5th level of Chi-Eater state, and finally tried to reach the 6th level of Chi-Eater state. But I failed. As a result, my whole body was seriously injured, and my meridians were distorted and deformed. Not to mention Chi-Eater state, I couldn't even cultivate my physical body. But I didn't give up. I accidentally got a physical body cultivation method passed down from ancient times. After more than a year of hard work, I finally reached the mortal state. Senior, I want to help my family out of the predicament. I want to find my father's skeleton and bury it with my mother. I want to find the family's artifact and prove my father's name. For some reason, in front of the bloody man, Su Fong roughly told him his experience. From the bottom of his heart, except for the Hunyuan sacred mirror in his body. After hearing this, the bloody man fell into silence again. This time, Su Fong didn't wait for long and he said, "Things in the world are not as you wish. I didn't expect you to bear so much pain and suffering at such a young age. What is a cultivator? It's not only about pursuing power, but also about going through hardships and forging an incomparably strong heart. Senior, I'm destined to meet you. I don't want to miss this opportunity." Su Fong kowtowed again and almost pulled out his heart to show it to the bloody man. The bloody man frowned slightly. "But you should be confident that you can reach the peak of the ancient physical body. In this way, you can enter Tianmen province to cultivate on your own. Since you can become a cultivator, why do you want to worship me as your master?" This question stumped Su Wan. He thought calmly for a while. Under the bloody man's gaze, he answered seriously, "That was when I had no choice. I vowed to enter Tianmen province and become a cultivator through hard work. But now that I have a choice, why don't I make a choice? It'll be faster and easier to achieve my wish." In this way, the danger of my family and my wish to find my father can come sooner. Moreover, after I become your disciple, I'll still rely on myself to cultivate. Senior, you just need to guide me on the side so that I won't take any detours. You're really talented. The bloody man praised him in front of everyone. Senior, do you agree? Su Fangdao was happy. A smile appeared in the bloody man's eyes. Why don't you change your mind? Master, please accept Su Fang's 3 kowtows. Su Fang suddenly stood up and solemnly prostrated himself on the ground, kowtowing to the bloody man. I'm your father. I didn't expect that I would also have a disciple. The bloody man sat cross-legged, and his eyes were also jumping with excitement. It seemed that he was also very happy and surprised to have a good disciple. After kowtowing, Su Fang finally smiled and felt relieved. Master, in the future, Su Fang will not only regard you as my master, but also as my father. In this life, Su Fang will regard you as the closest person to me. My grandfather left me, and my parents abandoned me early. Now, Master, you're the closest person to Su Fang. The Tao of Heaven is clear, and destiny is reincarnated. It seems that you and I are destined to meet either in this life or in the last life. In short, my good disciple, you'll also be my only family in the future. The bloody man was also very happy. He asked Su Fang to sit down. Since I'm your master, you should know my origin. My name is Yang Yizhen. I don't have a Taoist name now, and I haven't joined any forces to cultivate. In my early years, I stepped into the world of cultivation because of an adventure, and that's why I have today's supernatural power. Yang Yizhen. This name would forever be branded in Su Fang's mind. Master, you're a genius. You didn't need to join Tianmen province to become a cultivator. Su Fang felt that Yang Yizhen was even more amazing. This world is very big. Of course, I also think that I'm a genius. Now I've also accepted a genius disciple like you. Su Fang, my good disciple, I don't have much time left. Soon, I'll have to face a life and death calamity, so I can only accompany you here for a year or so. During this time, you won't have a good time. Master, look. Su Fang immediately took off his shirt and revealed the shocking flesh cocoon left behind by painstakingly cultivating his 100 orifices in front of Yang Yizhen. At this moment, even Yang Yizhen's eyes seemed to be moved. He slightly moist. Child, it's been hard on you, but you have such a brave heart. In the future, your achievements will definitely surpass everyone. Even the Tianmen's sage emperor won't be your opponent. There's an even bigger world outside. I believe that you'll walk out of here and leave your name in the minds of countless people in the future. Right now, disciple only wants to reach the peak of the physical body and undergo a heaven-defying change of fate. I want to quickly go to Tianmen province and find my father. I want to find my family's divine artifact. Good child, then tell me about your physical body cultivation technique. You are now in the mortal realm and have already become an ancient body refiner. Let me see if there's anything I can help you with. Perhaps Yang Yizhen was shocked by Su Fang's experience and immediately began to guide Su Fang's cultivation. Su Fang clearly told Yang Yizhen about the cultivation process of his 100 orifices bloodline from the first layer to the 4th layer. He didn't leave out a single word. Yang Yizhen was slightly pinching his fingers. There was always an ethereal aura lingering in the surroundings. Perhaps this master wasn't just in the flesh-body realm, but an even more unimaginable existence. The master and disciple chatted like this until the next day. Disciple, this 100 orifices bloodline is too heaven-defying, and its effects are also very obvious. If it were anyone else cultivating it, they wouldn't be able to persist to your level. It can be considered a cultivation method that doesn't care about your life. Yang Yizhen seemed to have an idea. Master has a way to change your distorted and blocked meridians. You can abandon this cruel body refinement technique. No. But Su Fang decisively refused. His gaze was filled with gratitude and determination. Since the ancient body is so difficult to cultivate, and no one has ever reached the peak of the physical body realm, then disciple will continue walking down this path. Once I reach the peak of the physical body realm, I will be able to change my fate. I will walk a cultivation path that belongs to me. I didn't misjudge you. Good. Right now, you're in the 100 Orifices bloodline realm, and that's extremely dangerous. I can't let you risk your life. I will plant a goo worm in your body, and when you cultivate, you can control the goo worm to crawl through your meridians. It will smooth out your meridians, and with the medicinal pills I've given you to cleanse your body, the problem with your meridians will soon be resolved. In that case, blocked meridians aren't an unsolvable problem for true cultivators. Yes, those experts can even repair broken dantians, let alone meridians. Then I have to start cultivating. Master only has a year, but I still have to be responsible for finding food for my clansmen. Master's body is pretty much healed. Leave the hunting to me. When they come back, you can just carry them back. In the future, you won't need to eat anything. This is a meridian unblocking pill. It can help you cleanse your meridians. Yang Yizhen used some unknown magic trick, and a white jade pill appeared in his hand. An immortal pill. Su Fang was indescribably excited. This was an immortal pill. He had heard that cultivators didn't need to eat anything but immortal pills. Thinking of how his master had treated him, he gave him an immortal pill. Since that was the case, Su Fang directly consumed it. A chill immediately spread through his body. He then sat down cross-legged and prepared to cultivate in the reverse bloodline realm. Cultivating in the reverse bloodline realm was no longer as cruel as the Xiantian and Hotian realms. Instead, he could sit cross-legged and cultivate. With the physical body he had worked so hard to cultivate in the previous two realms, he could control all the blood in his body to attack his meridians. Of course, it wasn't this simple. If cultivating in the 100 Orifices bloodline realm was this simple, then the Xiantian and Hotian realms wouldn't have been called bitter cultivation. Cultivating in the reverse bloodline realm required the physical body to control all the blood in his body to attack his meridians in the opposite direction. This was equivalent to cleansing the body. Flowing blood in the reverse direction was definitely painful. Gradually, after controlling his physical body, he felt the cold chi of the meridian unblocking pill condensing in his meridians. He gradually allowed his blood to gather in his meridians, fusing with the medicinal energy of the immortal pill. He also clearly sensed the general shape of his meridians twisting. It felt like a string of fried dough twists. The meridian unblocking pill's medicinal energy had a miraculous effect. It actually began to guide and absorb his blood into his meridians. Yang Yizhen stayed by Su Fang's side for an entire day. Seeing that Su Fang had already controlled the medicinal energy, he immediately stood up. Cooperate well with the medicinal energy of the meridian unblocking pill. Then you can start cultivating in the reverse bloodline realm. This process is just as painful. I'm going out to hunt. Su Fang sent Yang Yizhen off with his gaze. In the blink of an eye, Yang Yizhen disappeared. How was that a movement technique? It was simply a cultivator's divine ability. The heavens have finally opened their eyes and allowed me to meet Master. I'll definitely grab this opportunity to go against the heavens and change my fate. I definitely won't disappoint Master and Grandfather. Su Fang continued condensing all the blood in his body. He was about to start cultivating in the reverse direction. P.S. Thanks to H.S. Heavenly Mountain for the gift package. Author's words. A new day had begun, and Su Fang's life had begun to change, starting from the moment he had taken on a master. Who knew what kind of ending it would be in the future, even if it was a good beginning. Chapter 18. His muscles were filled with blood qi. The medicinal energy from the meridian unblocking pill had already begun to flow through his meridians, but Su Fang controlled it and merged it with his blood qi, officially beginning to flow in reverse. When most of the blood qi in his body stopped, it began to slowly flow in reverse along with the immortal pill's medicinal energy. At first, it was almost impossible to make the blood qi flow in reverse. All of the energy and breathing in the human body were regulated and formed a cycle. Flowing the blood qi in reverse was the same as going against the body. Originally, he wanted to go east, but Su Fang had to control his blood qi to go west. Because of this, the blood qi and the various energies in the body and the inner walls of the meridians would cause friction and collision. Not only was it difficult to advance even a little bit, but the blood qi would also rush against the inner walls of the meridians, as if it wanted to tear the meridians apart. If not for the meridian unblocking pill's medicinal energy, Su Fang would have been in even more pain. Breaking through the meridians, forcefully breaking through the meridians. For some reason, many wild animals appeared outside the cave, ranging from small rabbits to large wild boars. Yang Yizhen had only lightly grabbed at the air, and so many wild animals had appeared, as if he was performing a magic trick. Yang Yizhen was currently standing on the snowy ground. His body was completely weightless, because his feet had not stepped into the snow. His black robes were fluttering in the cold wind. This time, he did not use a black cloth to cover his face, but a black hood that completely covered his head. Only a pair of deep and calm eyes could be seen. With such perseverance, my good disciple will definitely become a great person in the future. Yang Yizhen waited for a while, then suddenly waved his hand. A large net-like white net sucked in all the wild animals and immediately flew with him into the depths of the forest to his left. After a few breaths, he saw the temple and the family Su youths patrolling the area. He immediately sucked in a large amount of wild animals, causing them to fall onto the snowy ground. There's movement. Let's go take a look. Su Yi just happened to be patrolling the forest in front of them. After hearing the noise, they slowly approached with crossbows in hand. When they saw the wild animals all over the ground, they were stunned. Brother Yi, there's so much wild animals. Could it be that Su Fang killed them? One of the youths was drooling. Of course it's Su Fang. Otherwise, in this world of ice and snow, who would help us? But why hasn't Su Fang appeared? Su Yi scanned his surroundings and did not see anyone. He no longer had any doubts and immediately organized his prey. Meanwhile, Yang Yizhen was currently standing on the snowy ground several zhang in front of them, but in front of these youngsters, he was like an invisible person. He slowly turned around and with a few steps, he silently disappeared into the snowy sky. So painful. I didn't think it would be so difficult to break through the meridians in reverse. Because he was focused on his cultivation, time passed very quickly. When Su Fang felt that he couldn't hold on any longer, he stopped. When he opened his eyes, the first thing he saw was Yang Yizhen sitting cross-legged in front of him, calmly sizing him up. Disciple, rumor has it that cultivation in the ancient era was originally not easy to cultivate. Otherwise, it would not have been gradually abandoned by other cultivators. You've already gained something by persevering for a few days. It's just that your meridians are too twisted. If you rely solely on your own efforts, you'll need at least 1 year, and at most 2 years to successfully break through all the meridians in your body. Yang Yizhen immediately consoled him. It seemed that he had been paying attention to every little change in Su Fang. It was also because of this that Su Fang's heart surged with waves of warmth. Ever since his clan's incident and his grandfather's sudden death, he had not been able to relax for a bit. Right now, he was very comfortable because someone was concerned about him. The firewood crackled as it burned. This pair of master and disciple sat on the ground quietly and naturally like this. Yang Yizhen suddenly opened his left hand and a dark red wooden box appeared. As for your clan's food problem, you don't need to think about it. I've already brought a lot of prey to them. In these few days, I've specially refined a few goo worms for you. Thank you, master. What is a goo worm? Su Fang opened his eyes wide and asked. That wooden box seemed to be a treasure. There were even more treasures that mortals could not see inside. Goo worms grow in the distant southern border. How far is that? Even if a mortal walked their entire lives, they still wouldn't be able to reach the southern border. Even some of the more powerful cultivators would have to spend a long time. Fortunately, there are many trading companies that sell goo worms. I've heard that goo worms are carefully raised by southern border cultivators using corpses or special food. There are many rumors about goo worms. Of course, there are also people who say that southern border cultivators plant goo worms in the bodies of babies from birth, allowing them to grow up into goo worms. In short, it's not true. The more rumors there are, the more extraordinary a goo worm is. I was also very curious about goo worms, so I researched them for a period of time. One time, I was poisoned and had to rely on a goo worm to detoxify it. Goo worms are mostly used by cultivators to detoxify poisons, experiment with medicinal pills, and so on. A portion of people also use them for cultivation. There are many different cultivation methods. Your meridians are twisted and blocked, so you need to use strength to cleanse your marrow. Only then can they be reformed. You're also an ancient body cultivator, so normal methods are not suitable for you. That's why I thought of using goo worms to coordinate with your cultivation. When you reverse the flow of your blood, it can enter your meridians and unblock your meridians. Yang Yizhen calmly explained to the box. So goo worms were so extraordinary. Su Fang was still in a daze. The latter slowly opened the wooden box. There was an indescribable smell of medicinal herbs coming from inside. There were 3 slightly wriggling black worms. They were only about an inch long and were much smaller than normal caterpillars. Goo worms had no body hair and were fleshy. They looked a bit like newly born silkworms, but they were black. Yang Yizhen continued, "Don't be afraid. It looks a bit disgusting, but it's nothing to cultivators. Drip 3 drops of blood on each of the 3 worms and let them get used to your blood first." Su Fang was indeed a bit uneasy. Who would let live worms enter their body? But on one hand, he believed in Yang Yizhen. He was his master and like a father. On the other hand, the mortal realm was so difficult to cultivate. If he didn't use this method, it would really be difficult for him to reach the Great Circle in 3 years. Without any hesitation, he pricked his finger and a drop of blood immediately appeared. He then dripped it on one of the goo worms, followed by the second and the third. At first, the goo worms were still lazy. But after absorbing the blood, they started to become active, as if they were looking for a host of fresh blood. Disciple, these 3 goo worms are larvae that have never been bloodthirsty. The goo worms also have a flaw. Once they are stained with someone's blood for the first time, they will never devour a second person's blood for the rest of their lives. So, only you can use these 3 goo worms in the future. Now, close your eyes. In your current state, it's best not to look. Okay. Su Fang knew that the goo worms were about to enter his body and was trembling. After all, they were living worms that were bloodthirsty. Anyone would be afraid of them. Yang Yizhen first poked Su Fang's shoulder and then put the worms into his mouth one by one. Su Fang didn't have any reaction to this. It was as if he didn't feel anything. After a while, Yang Yizhen poked him again. Su Fang slowly looked at the wooden box, but he couldn't see the 3 goo worms. It seemed that the goo worms had already entered his body, but he didn't feel anything. The goo worms are very docile, so you don't have to worry about that. Furthermore, they aren't very bloodthirsty. Right now, you just need to focus your mind on sensing the goo worms. Because I made the goo worms consume a bit of the Meridian Unlocking Pills medicinal powder, the goo worms will search for the Meridian Unlocking Pills aura within your body. You just need to focus the medicinal power of the pill on your meridians. This way, the goo worms will slowly crawl through your meridians on their own. I estimate that in half a year, the 3 goo worms will naturally open up your meridians. Su Fang slowly adjusted his breathing and calmed himself down. Then, he slowly sensed the medicinal power of the channel unblocking pill into his meridians. Then, he used his muscles to control his blood. He sensed for more than half a day. Sure enough, he felt 3 slight tearing pains coming from his lower abdomen. As time passed, he could feel the pain slowly moving. It seemed that the 3 goo worms were beginning to enter his meridians. It was too miraculous. He didn't need to do anything, but his twisted and blocked meridians would become comfortable after a few months. However, he was an ancient body refiner. He couldn't wait like this. He had to continue breaking through his meridians in reverse. Since the goo worms would crawl in his meridians on their own, he didn't need to care about them. He began to control his blood and slowly let it flow in reverse through his meridians. How difficult it was to go against the current. One could imagine how difficult it was to break through his meridians in reverse. This was the difference between the 100 apertures bloodline. It was also an ancient body refiner's technique that suited Su Fang's situation. Because Su Fang had taken the channel unblocking pill, he didn't feel hungry even though he hadn't eaten for several days. Moreover, his body's condition was very good. It seemed that he always had inexhaustible energy. The blood and qi slowly flowed in reverse through his meridians. It was very difficult at first, but after a month, Su Fang adapted from the pain. During this process, there would be dark blood seeping out of his pores from time to time. This was the effect of breaking through his meridians in reverse. This was cleansing the body. With the assistance of the channel unblocking pill, the effects of Su Fang's meridians were getting better day by day. Yang Yizhen was either looking after Su Fang in the cave or going out once every few days. Naturally, it was to hunt. For the time being, he was taking care of Su Fang's family Su. Master, I can already feel that a part of my meridians is unblocked. There is blood and qi flowing in the direction of the circulatory cycle. After an unknown amount of time, Su Fang suddenly opened his eyes in excitement. Yang Yizhen also seemed to have stopped cultivating. His eyes revealed a confident smile. Sometimes goo worms are just that useful. They are superior to panaceas and miraculous medicines. Of course, this is inseparable from your daily cultivation. Work hard, strive to successfully break through your meridians within 3 months. When your meridians return to normal, you'll become a cultivator. This disciple won't disappoint master. Su Fang continued to sit cross-legged and began to break through his meridians in reverse. After more than a month of breaking through his meridians, he could feel that the scene of his blood and qi breaking through his meridians was like wave after wave of blood-colored waves crashing against the shore in reverse. Although the pain didn't stop after each impact, he felt that his qi had an illusion that it was returning to his meridians. Because of this, more impurities in his body were being expelled. Most cultivators used methods such as channel unblocking pills to cleanse their meridians. Very few chose to use their own physical strength to forcefully cleanse their meridians. The 100 apertures bloodline was an ancient body refining cultivation method that abandoned all medicinal pills and external forces. It relied on one's own strength to cleanse their meridians. Once they succeeded in cleansing their meridians, their physical body would reach the realm of great perfection. The heavy snow never stopped for a day. It was almost impossible to see the mountains and forests. The world was a vast expanse of white. It's been 3 months. In the wind and snow, Yang Yizhen slowly walked over. He wasn't affected by the wind and snow. His eyes revealed a sense of urgency. Fang should be about to succeed. Although his body can only withstand 3 goo worms, he didn't know where Yang Yizhen went. He was a bit travel-worn. When he returned to the cave, he suddenly revealed a pleasantly surprised smile. Under his observation, white smoke would occasionally come out of Su Fang's head. Moreover, the color of his skin would regularly change from blood to red. Again and again, Su Fang felt that there were streaks of blood-colored light flickering in his body from time to time. Chapter 19. It's about the same time as I calculated. For months have passed, and Feng Er has finally unblocked his meridians. Moreover, he has begun to reverse the flow of his blood. Yang Yizhen was very happy. He immediately sat down and took out another meridian loosening pill. The medicinal fragrance of the immortal pill immediately woke Su Feng up from his cultivation. Master, the goo worm really has a miraculous effect. It has practically unblocked all my meridians. Moreover, the reverse flow of my blood is becoming smoother and smoother. As long as my meridians are unblocked, I can use the power of the heavenly cycle to reverse the flow of my blood. Yang Yizhen was very gratified. Your problem is nothing in the eyes of cultivators. I can personally help you unblock your meridians. It won't even take 3 days. But with the help of the goo worm, you took 4 months. In these 4 months, you relied on your own cultivation to gain a more thorough understanding of your body. In the future, your cultivation will also become easier. Disciple is confident that I can step into the mortal realm within this month. But I still want to go back and take a look. I wonder how Uncle and the others are doing. Suddenly, Su Feng revealed the worry of his clansmen. Then hurry back. Master won't accompany you. I also want to be alone for a while. Yang Yizhen agreed. Thank you, Master. Su Feng stood up in pleasant surprise. Just as he was about to leave the cave, Yang Yizhen suddenly said, In any case, I am still your master. It's not right if I don't go. How about this? How many people in your clan are martial artists? About 20. But my uncle and the others had their meridians cruelly broken by the Wu clan's experts. They can no longer cultivate. Thinking of this problem, Su Feng immediately felt uncomfortable again. It's just the Qi Eater realm. The Qi Eater realm is the most basic cultivation realm for cultivators. But those in the Qi Eater realm are all mortals, so in front of me, their matters are nothing. That's why I gave you some of the most basic meridian loosening pills as a token of my appreciation. Furthermore, I don't want to distract you. I hope you can reach the Great Circle as soon as possible. Bang! Su Feng's legs went soft and he immediately knelt in front of Yang Yizhen. Su Feng heavily kowtowed again. Master, disciple thanks you on behalf of my Su family for your kindness. This is just a small token of appreciation from Master. Moreover, it's just some meridian loosening pills. Master, you are a high and mighty immortal. You might not care about anything, but you can change my family Su's fate and future. Master, thank you. Get up. You and I are already as close as father and son, so the matters of your family are actually part of my duties. It's just that I don't want to get involved in too many worldly matters and disturb my habits. It's inconvenient for me to personally meet your clansmen, so I'll help as much as I can. There are over 20 meridian loosening pills in this jade bottle. You have to warn them not to take the initiative to absorb the energy of the immortal pills. Instead, let their bodies slowly digest them. Their bodies have already been heavily injured, and the medicinal energy is too strong. Yang Yizhen rolled up her sleeve. A white jade bottle flew towards Su Feng. Su Feng held the jade bottle, bowed, and ran out of the cave. Yang Yizhen didn't give it a second glance. He closed his eyes like a boulder, full of vigor. Tombs, the snowy outskirts, who is it? When the two youths saw the large snowflakes rolling towards them, they immediately gripped their crossbows tightly. Su Feng galloped over from the snowflakes. The youths immediately beamed with joy. After half a year, it seemed that they had already accepted Su Feng in their hearts. When Su Feng arrived at the tombs, she saw some of her clansmen sweeping the snow in the cemetery. Many of them were wearing leather pouches sewn from animal skins. Su Ting strode over to welcome Su Feng. He brushed away the snowflakes on Su Feng's head and happily led him into the hall. Feng Er, you came back just in time. The spies we sent down the mountain reported the movements in Tianzong City. At this moment, Su Junyan and the rest had also gathered. Everyone was concerned about Su Feng. When they sensed the changes in Su Fang, the family Su clansmen were once again excited. More than 10 of the family Su's surviving higher-ups gathered around the bonfire and looked at Su Ting. The spies also brought us good news. Due to the heavy snowfall, the Wu clan's team had been bitterly waiting at the foot of the mountain for several months. However, for some unknown reason, the Lu clan had a falling out with the Wu clan. The Wu clan's position in Tianzong City is now in jeopardy. I'm afraid that the Wu clan will not be able to deal with us in the future. Once this rare long winter is over, we can migrate to other cities far away. If we migrate, our old family Su can settle down here for generations. Although everything has been taken over by the Wu clan, we may still be able to return to Tianzong City. Since the Lu clan and the Wu clan had a falling out, as long as the Wu clan's power is weakened, we can openly return to Tianzong City. As long as we give some treasures to the Lu clan, I believe that we will be able to establish ourselves in Tianzong City. The higher-ups of the Wu clan were discussing spiritedly in the hall. Each of them had their own ideas. Some felt that they could make use of the falling out between the Lu clan and the Wu clan to return to Tianzong City. Some even suggested that they could rent land from the Lu clan, which would be equivalent to becoming long-term workers for the Lu clan. After discussing for a long time, they still couldn't come to a decision. The snow had sealed off the mountains, and this strange long winter seemed to be never-ending. At least the family Su was safe for now. Su Fang didn't say anything. He only came to Su Ting's side when everyone stopped discussing. Uncle, Fang has recently acknowledged a master. My return this time was master's intention. He asked Fang to bring back immortal elixirs to help Uncle and the rest of you cleanse your body and restore your physique. Immortal elixirs. When Su Junyan and the rest heard this, they felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Su Ting was indeed the clan head. What he thought of wasn't immortal elixirs. He reprimanded in front of everyone, "Since you have acknowledged a master, why didn't your master come with you? Although our family Su has declined, we cannot be impolite. How can you be so insensible to keep such a guest at the door?" Uncle, master was seriously injured, and Fang accidentally saved him. He is still recuperating and can't be distracted. Therefore, he asked Fang to bring more than 20 immortal elixirs called channel-activating elixirs. I have often heard of channel-activating elixirs in Tianmen province. It is an immortal elixir that can only be consumed by flesh-body realm cultivators. I heard that just one elixir can change one's physique. Su Fang, who is your master? Why does he have so many channel-activating elixirs? Then, the reason why you could kill Wu Dezhang was because your master helped you. For a moment, everyone was extremely curious about Su Fang's master. They even thought of the scene where Su Fang killed Wu Dezhang with one punch in the family Su Martial Hall. Everyone's curious gazes almost made Su Fang unable to breathe. At this moment, Su Ting glanced around. Everyone, since Fang master is injured, there will naturally be many inconveniences. We cannot make things difficult for Fang Uncles, as long as everyone consumes the channel-activating elixir, I believe that your meridians will be cleansed in a few days and return to normal. My master has warned that the channel-activating elixir's medicinal properties are difficult for Qi-eating realm cultivators to bear. Therefore, after consuming the channel-activating elixir, you cannot forcefully activate the medicinal properties. Instead, let the medicinal properties slowly fuse with your body. After Su Fang finished speaking in front of everyone, he handed the white jade bottle to Su Ting. As the head of a clan, Su Ting, who could no longer cultivate to become immortal, was almost trembling as he held the white jade bottle. Everyone else was the same, because this seemingly unremarkable white jade bottle would once again change their fate. It was also equivalent to changing the fate of the family Su. Some people even shed tears of excitement and began to discuss the channel-activating elixir. Su Fang took this opportunity to quietly leave the tomb. After returning to the cave, Su Fang quietly went to Yang Yizhen's side. Yang Yizhen seemed to be unaware, but he slowly opened his eyes. "You're back!" Su Fang suddenly nodded mysteriously. "Yes, master, it seems that I didn't disturb your cultivation. It just so happens that I have a special treasure to give to master." A treasure to give to master? Yang Yizhen, who was originally very calm, was teased into a smile. He seemed to not believe that a youth from the mortal world would have a treasure. At this time, a fragment scroll was taken out from Su Fang's chest. When it was spread open layer by layer, a small golden scroll immediately appeared in front of Yang Yizhen. Yang Yizhen, who was originally curious, was suddenly attracted to the small golden scroll. He slowly held it in his hand. It seemed that he had confirmed that this was a treasure. "Where did you get this?" He looked at Su Fang. Thus, Su Fang roughly explained how he met the mysterious woman and how he obtained the small golden scroll from the male court. "Child, I don't know if the heavens open their eyes for you to encounter cultivators killing each other and still be able to keep your life. That's not right. Since you were hit by that woman's power, how did you survive?" Yang Yizhen found the key point. "I forgot to tell master. When I opened the medicine shop at home, I accidentally fused with a purple light. It drilled into my right arm. It seems that it was my right arm that dissolved that woman's power." He didn't want to tell Yang Yizhen about the existence of the Origin Sacred Mirror. The main reason was that there was still a powerful woman living in the ancient mirror. He felt that it was better not to tell her for the time being. The blood hand is really big. There are all kinds of strange things. If it was a cultivator's severed arm, then the purple light might be his bloodline. Yang Yizhen also wanted to come to a conclusion, but it seemed that he couldn't figure it out. However, at least he knew why Su Fang could still cultivate the 100 Orifices bloodline when his body was heavily injured. Su Fang curiously asked, "Master, what is this small golden scroll? I can't see through this either, unless I can unravel the secret inside. However, this is your destiny. It's better for you to wait until you become stronger and unravel this secret yourself. It really is a treasure, a destiny that belongs to you." At this moment, Yang Yizhen carefully returned the small golden scroll to Su Fang. He originally wanted to give it to his master, but who would have thought that his master wouldn't want it? He put away the small golden scroll and suddenly asked, "What is the state of Zhao? Before that woman killed me, she said that the entire state of Zhao would be shaken if news of this spread." The country of Zhao. That's a cultivation world that's even more powerful than the Heavenly Gate Prefecture. It's extremely far away. Master has never been there. Alright, your meridians are now unobstructed. Master will suck out the goo worms. You can begin attacking the mortal realm. It seemed that Yang Yizhen didn't want to talk too much about the outside world. Thus, he patted Su Fang's lower abdomen with his palm. After a few breaths, the 3 blood shadows were sealed back into the box. "My meridians are finally back to normal." At this moment, Su Fang's mood was indescribable. Because of the problem with his meridians, he had faced despair several times. After adjusting his mood, he immediately condensed all the blood qi and inner strength in his body. He began to circulate the blood qi in his body in the reverse direction. In an instant, his whole body's skin turned scarlet red. This scarlet red color rolled over Su Fang's body again and again. It was as if a blood-colored light was rolling over Su Fang's head, lower body, and hands again and again. After countless times, a blood-colored flame formed on top of Su Fang's head. Then, a crackling sound came from his body, and a large amount of disgusting dark blood gushed out from the surface of his body. Pooh! When the last blood-colored light rolled over, Su Fang immediately spat out a large mouthful of blood. In an instant, the blood-colored light disappeared. His body returned to its normal color, and some mysterious white spirit smoke gushed out from his body. Chapter 20. When the white smoke dissipated, Su Fang's skin turned white with a hint of red. The flesh cocoons or dead skin left behind by his Xiantian and Hotian realm cultivation were automatically falling off. I'm lucky enough to witness the ancient mortal body in my lifetime. Yang Yizhen nodded with gratification. He had never seen this kind of physical body before. Good disciple, after reaching the mortal realm, you have truly surpassed the current cultivators. You have a physical body that even Qi-eating realm martial artists can't have. Mortal realm Su Fang seemed to have changed into a different person. He was no longer in the Hotian realm, but in the mortal realm. Entering the saint realm meant that he had the sacred body that only ancient body cultivators had. How do you feel now? Yang Yizhen asked directly. Su Fang sensed carefully, but he still couldn't figure out the changes. My meridians are unblocked. Blood, qi, and internal strength are flowing naturally in my meridians. The energy and my body have reached the same breathing level. I feel that as long as I make a move, I can explode with all my strength in an instant. Moreover, my vision and hearing have changed. For example, when Master speaks, I feel very slow. I can roughly hear the trajectory of the falling snowflakes outside the cave. I heard that the ancient sacred body has the physical strength of an ant's nest and the ability to see through water and stone. Sure enough, this is an ability that even Qi-eating realm martial artists can't have. It seems that the perfect ancient physical body is comparable to the current flesh body realm. Qi-eating realm is indeed the foundation of cultivation. Ant's nest seeing through water and stone. Su Fang had never heard of this before. Master, I've passed the Qi-eating realm now. This is only the physical body. You haven't started to condense Qi, so your internal Qi is far inferior to the Qi-eating realm in terms of spiritual Qi. I once reached the 5th stage of Qi-eating realm. I only know about Qi-eating and internal breath. It seems that not many people know about the Qi-eating realm. It has a long history. In ancient times, humans mainly cultivated their physical bodies. Later on, they cultivated their spiritual qi in a very ancient way. Later on, humans meditated in front of the essence of heaven and earth and breathed in qi through their mouth. Up until now, no one knows how it evolved. The first 5 tiers of the Qi-eater realm are all internal and external cultivation. The 6th and 10th tiers focus on cultivating qi and condensing spiritual qi. All creatures have spiritual qi, and we humans have spiritual qi as well. But we have to cultivate and condense spiritual qi step by step. When we reach the flesh embryo realm, we have to condense spiritual qi into spiritual qi. Only with spiritual qi can we be considered a true cultivator. After some basic explanations, Yang Yizhen suddenly spread open his 5 fingers, and a whirlpool-like white spirit energy emerged from the hollow of his palm. This was spiritual qi, the true power of a cultivator. Yang Yizhen put the spiritual qi away. With spiritual qi, you can learn all kinds of qigong and magic. Of course, this will take a long time to cultivate. It's easy to say, but when you start cultivating, you will find that there are thousands of things you need to learn. Especially magic, you need to go through a lot of tempering. Now that your body has returned to normal, as long as you reach the great circle of the fleshly body realm, your body will reach a very high level in the flesh body realm. As long as you start cultivating, you can directly enter the flesh body realm from the great circle of the fleshly body realm. You don't need to start cultivating from the qi-eating realm because your body already has some spiritual qi. So the beginning is to cultivate the body. Then you have to eat qi, condense qi, transform qi, and finally have spiritual qi. Then you can enter the flesh body realm and become a cultivator. At this moment, through Yang Yizhen's explanation and his own understanding of the qi-eating realm, he suddenly understood what the qi-eating realm was all about. It was like cultivating the fleshly body one step at a time. It was not enough to just rely on internal cultivation, and it was also not enough to rely on external cultivation. One had to cultivate both internal and external cultivation. If you enter the flesh-body realm, then you will have surpassed most flesh-body realm cultivators. Because you have a strong physical body, any cultivation will surpass cultivators of the same level. Of course, there is no limit to cultivation. The Qi-eating realm is the foundation of cultivation, and the flesh-body realm is just the beginning of a cultivator's threshold. Even mastering spells is very difficult, and you can only cultivate some superficial spells. Good disciple, with your current cultivation, you are already qualified to enter Tianmen province. No, I must reach the great perfection stage. Since it is difficult for everyone to reach the great perfection stage, I, Su Fang, must strive to become a great perfection stage cultivator. The great perfection stage of the 100 Orifices bloodline is mainly the cultivation of the living blood shredding cloth. Yang Yizhen was pleasantly surprised. He thought that Su Fang would give up on reaching the great perfection stage, but in the end, he still insisted on persisting. Although the living blood shredding clothes is not recorded in contemporary cultivation methods, I have a rough idea of how to cultivate it. It has some similarities with the flesh-body realm. The flesh body is the human body, and the human body is covered with a layer of clothes. This layer of clothes is to protect the human body, but it is also an obstacle that imprisons human cultivation. Su Fang immediately pricked up his ears and listened carefully. What is the flesh-body realm? In fact, the flesh-body realm is mainly the cultivation of the physical body. The human body is the bridge that communicates with the heavens and the earth, so it is called the flesh body. It is used to store energy, so it has to cleanse all the impurities in the body and purify all the impurities for the flesh body. The impurities are like layers of clothes that imprison the human body. Cleansing the impurities time and time again is purification time and time again. The living blood shredding clothes is a special marrow cleansing technique, Yang Yizhen explained in detail. With his understanding of the Qi-eater realm and the flesh-body realm, combined with the 100 Orifices bloodline, he was able to find the same profound meaning. Therefore, Su Fang immediately understood. And all the impurities in the body become the placenta. This has been passed down since ancient times. It is just like how a person needs to wear clothes. The clothes are the placenta and the flesh body is your body. The great perfection stage of the flesh body is to purify the impurities in the body. Then if I purify it, will I not have any impurities in the placenta? Well, this is actually similar to what I thought when I first stepped into cultivation. I thought that after breaking through once, all the impurities in the body would be forced out of the body, and there would be no more impurities. In the end, as I climbed to a new realm, I discovered that I had reached a new realm and possessed high-level spiritual power. However, the body also had many more impurities. Then if this continues, won't you never be able to wash away the placenta? You asked me this time. I don't know about this either. After all, there are still many unknown realms. I also heard that although the world we live in is infinitely big, it is only an insignificant small world in the vast universe. Outside of our small world, there is a vast and boundless big world. There is always a sky beyond the sky. Su Fang could not help but follow Yang Yizhen's gaze and look at the sky outside the cave. The sky was too vast. However, just as he was about to look back, he suddenly realized that the heavy snow that had lasted for more than half a year had suddenly disappeared. Even the cold wind had slightly disappeared. Then, he felt that the air was slowly rising without any warning. It was completely unlike the change of seasons. It came bit by bit, and the heat directly descended from the sky. Su Fang could not help but come to the front of the cave. What's going on? What kind of weather is this? Is summer suddenly coming again? The weather has always been abnormal for the past 2 years. Yang Yizhen came to the snowy ground and immediately felt a wave of cold air sweeping up from the layer of snow. Then, hot air slowly came from the sky. The ancient scroll said that every time there is an abnormality in the world, it is an ominous sign. Master, you are so powerful. Can't you make a divination? Su Fang came to the side and shivered because the snow had started to melt and spread to his whole body. I am just an ordinary cultivator. I am just slightly more powerful than ordinary cultivators. Who knows if there is such a cultivator in the world through divination? Look at the weather, summer is indeed coming. Let's go back. This is the coldest time of the year. Moreover, the changes in the world will produce some impure energy. It will not be good to breathe it in. Following Yang Yizhen's instructions, Su Fang followed him into the cave. As long as winter is over, the survival of our clansmen will not be a problem. He could not forget about his clansmen at all times. However, his worries were unnecessary now. Only by breaking through to the great circle of the corporeal body would he have the ability to help his clan survive this crisis. Living blood shredding clothes. After Su Fang condensed his qi, the blood qi in his body began to circulate through his meridians. He began to cultivate normally. This kind of carefree feeling was something he had never experienced before. The living blood shredding clothes requires the blood qi to attack the body 81 times. Only then can the body be considered to have reached the great circle of the corporeal body. For each of the 81 times, I have to first circulate the small circulatory cycle, then the large circulatory cycle, and then the 100 acupoints finger technique. Finally, I can make the breakthrough. Even if I can make the breakthrough once, I will need 3 months to complete it. This is only in theory. After cultivating for a while, Su Fang suddenly grumbled. Yang Yizhen's ears were too sharp. He immediately scolded, "Disciple, since you have decided to walk on the path of cultivation, you must have perseverance. You have to bring out the courage you had when you were cultivating in the innate and postnatal realms. Otherwise, if you continue like this, it will be difficult to achieve the results you want." Yes, I should not be distracted. Su Fang hurriedly apologized. After controlling the blood qi and inner strength in his body to a certain extent, he pointed at his thighs, calves, hands, and chest at the same time. 100 acupoints finger technique. The process of cultivating the great circle of the living blood shredding clothes also included the 100 acupoints finger technique. Before each of the 81 times, he had to use the 100 acupoints finger technique to seal the body's most important acupoints. Then, when the body's energy reached the peak, he would suddenly unseal all the acupoints. The body's energy would then explode and attack the entire body. This was the living blood shredding clothes. It was different from the innate and postnatal realms. The two realms used the 100 acupoints finger technique to seal different parts of the body and prevent the blood from flowing. However, the living blood shredding clothes sealed the acupoints and accumulated energy. Then, like a flood, the energy would attack the entire body and cleanse the marrow. How can the 100 acupoints bloodline have such a heaven-defying and special body cultivation method? Yang Yizhen saw that Su Fang's body was now completely red. His blood qi could not flow and his body was expanding. Naturally, he knew that Su Fang was enduring an indescribable pain. He could not help but feel confused. Su Fang gritted his teeth and forcefully sealed the energy in his body with the 100 acupoints finger technique. He first circulated the energy in his meridians for a few small circulatory cycles, then a large circulatory cycle. The next morning, bang! He suddenly used both hands to poke his body several times. A burst of inner strength directly erupted from Su Fang's body, releasing his aura. This burst of inner strength was not just in an ordinary form. It also carried a bit of blood mist. It was the aura and blood qi that erupted from Su Fang's body like an explosion. Because of this explosive power, the hairs all over his body stood up like thorns. There was even a bit of blood mist floating in the air. At this time, Su Fang's face was incomparably pale. Large beads of cold sweat flowed down his cheeks. It seemed that the pain from the impact was unbearable. His nails even scratched his palms. The first impact. He finally made it through. Hold on, this body cultivation method is too cruel. But if you can make it through, you will become the one and only great perfection expert of the ancient era. Yang Yizhen almost could not bear to continue watching. Of course, he could help Su Fang. He could use his own spiritual energy to help Su Fang cleanse his marrow. However, he did not want to do this, and Su Fang did not want to use external forces to reach great perfection. The author's words: "Thank you for your support, brothers. You gave me a lot of suggestions for my new book." Chapter 21. The success of the first attempt caused the cave to be filled with blood energy. This scene was too strange. If someone saw this, they would think that there were demons and ghosts in the cave. Fang Er, don't rush to start the second attempt. Adjust your breathing first. Wait until your body's energy reaches a balance before continuing. Yang Yizhen hurriedly reminded. Su Fang slowly condensed his energy. His skin gradually regained its redness. After the success of the first attempt, it was obvious that some impurities were seeping out from his pores. It was as if he had sweated blood, leaving behind drops of blood-colored salt. He suddenly felt something and could not help but look outside the cave. The snow has disappeared. During the 2 days you were attempting the second attempt, all the snow on the Purple Clouds mountain had melted. Everything welcomed a new life. The two of them looked at the mountains and forest together. It was no longer white. After experiencing this winter, many trees in the forest withered. There was almost no green left. It was as if the world had experienced an absolute ice seal. The new scene seemed to indicate a new beginning. It stirred up Su Fang's desire to cultivate. After resting for half a day, he began the second attempt. It was still the 100 acupoints finger technique. It was still gathering all the energy in his body and circulating his blood energy. The first attempt took 3 days. The second attempt took 2 days. The third and fourth attempts were completed in less than 2 days. In general, one attempt required 2 days. Su Fang persisted for more than 2 months. At night, the bright moon was seen in the sky again. There were many stars. After another successful attempt, Su Fang's complexion recovered a little. Yang Yizhen called out from outside the cave, "The night sky is especially bright tonight. Fang Er, let's go to the peak of the Purple Clouds mountain to admire the moon." It was night time. It was just past dusk. After leaving the cave, Su Fang saw the majestic peak of the Purple Clouds mountain. He could not help but sigh. "Master, it's not easy to climb the mountain so late at night. Let's just find a random place. Naturally, we have to go to the peak. Only then can we have the grandeur of climbing the mountain. Watch carefully." It seemed like Yang Yizhen was in a good mood tonight. Just as Su Fang was hesitating and curious, he suddenly felt his body leave the ground. He immediately looked down. As expected, his body was floating 1 foot above the ground. A white aura lifted him up. It was Yang Yizhen's divine ability. Whoosh! As Yang Yizhen gently waved his right arm, he and Su Fang actually flew up the steep cliff. Yang Yizhen seemed to be walking freely on the cliff and vegetation. So powerful! It was simply flying through the air. With such a divine ability, what natural barrier could stop a cultivator? If he had this kind of magical power, even Tianmen province wouldn't be able to stop him. Then he could find his father and bring back the family's divine weapon. After a few breaths of time, Yang Yizhen could be seen pulling back his arms slightly in front of him, and the two of them landed on the summit of Purple Chi Mountain. They could see everything in all directions. Su Fang had lived here for more than 10 years, but he had never been to the peak of the Purple Chi Mountain, nor had he heard of anyone who had climbed to the top of the mountain, because no one could reach the top of the cliff. Su Fang saw the dimly lit Tianzong city. He felt like a group of fireflies were shining above the city. Looking around, it was a vast land. Even at night, he could see the distant world. Yang Yizhen smiled. What do you think? This is the first time I've seen everything so familiar. It suddenly gives me a feeling that I can overcome countless difficulties and reach another height. Su Fang really wanted to shout out loud. The world is very big, and Purple Chi Mountain is only a corner of it. In the future, when you go to Tianmen Province, you'll see all kinds of strange sights. There are all kinds of spiritual bodies formed by life forms, monsters and monsters. There are no mortals there, only cultivators. Yang Yizhen looked at Su Fang with gratification. Soon after, he grabbed at the air, and a 3-meter-wide beast's skin appeared in front of him. There was also a wine cup and a wine jug. The two of them sat down on the beast's skin. At this time, the stars were boundless, and the world was bright and boundless. It really made it hard for people to have the slightest thought of sleeping. This wine isn't simple. Once it enters the body, it can make the blood and qi circulate on its own. When Su Fang drank a mouthful of wine, not only did he not feel drunk, his blood, qi, and energy began to circulate. This was refined from some spiritual items I collected. It has the effect of strengthening muscles and bones. Drink more if you like. In any case, it's not very intoxicating. Many thanks, Master. You and I are like father and son. Don't treat me like an outsider. I also treat you like a son. Although he could not see Yang Yizhen's expression, his tone was full of kindness. Since that was the case, Su Fang did not waste this opportunity. After continuously breaking through for 2 months, he had long felt that his strength was not as strong as he wished. Now was the perfect time to replenish his body's strength. Waves of refreshing cold wind swept through the sky. Su Fang suddenly pointed to the starry sky. Master, look at the sky full of stars. What is there behind those stars? I also don't know. But I heard that cultivators who have reached the peak of cultivation can go to the world in the sky to take a look. Disciple Tianqiong, just treat it as a dream. A foolish dream. Do you have a dream or a goal? Yes, I have persisted in practicing martial arts since I was young. I have never stopped. I want to fulfill my mother's wish and bring back my father's remains. Even if it's just a strand, I want to be buried next to my mother. Let them rest forever in this deep mountain. After that, I want to find the family's divine artifact and bring our family to greater height. This is also my grandfather's wish. I don't have any. This was my thought before I met Master. After meeting Master for half a year, I want to become a cultivator like Master. I want to go anywhere. I want to walk out of this small world and go to a wider world to see what kind of earth-shattering abilities a real cultivator has. At this moment, in front of the bright moon, the stars in the sky, and Yang Yizhen, Su Fang suppressed the desire in his heart and said it all with a smile. At this moment, he felt that he was full of strength and that he could break through any obstacle. Yang Yizhen also stared at the night sky. It was as if he could see what Su Fang could not. A person must have a goal and a dream. Then, they must persevere. They must persevere all the time and persevere day after day. Su Fang continued to drink a mouthful of wine and enjoyed the carefree flow of energy in his body. Through his own perseverance, he finally opened up all the meridians in his body. By relying on his own cultivation of the 100 orifices and blood vessels, he successfully reached the peak step by step. The master and disciple chatted like this until the latter half of the night before they went down the mountain. When they returned to the cave, perhaps it was because of the wine or because Su Fang was too relaxed, he fell asleep very quickly. Whoosh! Su Fang opened his eyes in a daze and heard the sound of strong wind sweeping through the sky outside the cave. Master! He immediately sat up and thought of cultivation and Yang Yizhen. However, the cave was empty, and Yang Yizhen was nowhere to be seen. It seems that Master went out again. Su Fang rubbed his temples. This was the most peaceful sleep he had ever had since he grew up. After he woke up, he felt very different. Why is there a box for goo worms and 3 pieces of jade? He wanted to continue to cultivate the living blood and clothe. However, he saw that there was a wooden box and 3 pieces of jade where Yang Yizhen was sitting. There was also a piece of butter paper under the box. It seemed that Yang Yizhen left it for him. He went to the side and sat down. He picked up the 3 pieces of jade and touched them. They emitted a cold aura. There were some patterns on the surface, and they looked very mysterious. He looked at the wooden box and opened it. As expected, he saw 3 goo worms. Master, there seemed to be a bad sign in Su Fang's mind. He picked up the butter paper and slowly opened it. There were no words inside, only a lifelike portrait of Yang Yizhen. Su Fang could not understand it. However, the portrait suddenly moved slightly and spoke. My good disciple, I really did not want you to see this scene. I am also very reluctant to let you see this. When you see this will imprint, it means that I have left Purple Chi Mountain and returned to the world that belongs to me. Master. He did not expect that he would suddenly leave after having a family member. I also did not expect that I would meet you and accept a good disciple like you. You have also become the only thing that I cannot let go of. I really want to thank you. You have seen the 3 runic talismans and goo worms, right? These are my gifts to you. You can use the 3 goo worms to cultivate in the future. As for how to control the goo worms, you can go to Tianmen province in the future and find out how to use the goo worms there. As for these 3 pieces of jade, they are called runic talismans. These are treasures that cultivators use to condense divine abilities and energy. These 3 runic talismans are teleportation talismans. 1 talisman? It can teleport 5 kilometers. In the future, when you step into the world of cultivators, you will definitely encounter many dangers that you cannot resist. As for these 3 talismans, I can save you 3 times. I will not be by your side, but I cannot protect you in everything. You need a good environment to grow. Of course, you will not be willing to grow under my wings. Do you want to make good use of these 3 talismans? As for the rest, I will not leave you with them. If I give you too much help, it will instead affect your willpower. Next, you still have one last obstacle to overcome. Great perfection, and at great perfection, you will face the legendary heaven-defying tribulation. It is a heavenly tribulation that cleanses the body. There is also a certain amount of danger, but I believe that you can overcome this hurdle. As for you and I, master and disciple, in the future, there will definitely be a chance for us to reunite. I will be waiting for you in a distant world. I will wait for you. Before the portrait finished its last sentence, it had already begun to dissipate. After it finished speaking, it had already turned into a cloud of smoke. Master! Su Fang hurriedly wrapped the butter paper together to prevent Yang Yizhen from disappearing. However, the white smoke still passed through his hands and disappeared into the cave. When he opened the yellow paper again, there was nothing inside. Instead, the yellow paper had turned to dust. I will definitely come find you. Master, thank you for everything you have done for Fang Er. I won't make you wait too long. Su Fang held back his tears and then sat down cross-legged. He began to use the 100 acupuncture points technique to continue attacking. He wanted to use cultivation to divert the pain of this parting. However, this was of no use. He had long since been crying bitterly in his heart. It was rare for him to meet a family member. Furthermore, this family member had accompanied him during his most difficult times, when he needed help the most. Even if he wholeheartedly focused on cultivation, his mind was still filled with Yang Yizhen's image. Qi. Because of the surging energy and blood qi in his body, all kinds of grinding sounds came from his meridians and body. It was as if his body was about to be cut apart. He clenched his teeth, not thinking about Yang Yizhen, and attacked with all his strength. After this day, in the latter half of the night, he suddenly used both hands to press on many of his acupuncture points. The seal on his acupuncture points disappeared. Su Fang immediately lost control of his body's energy. His energy and blood qi had lost control. Following the disappearance of the seal on his acupuncture points, he immediately became like an enraged beast, furiously attacking his body. A series of popping sounds rang out. Thin layers of blood qi surged out. At this moment, his eyes seemed to be filled with the color of blood. Another attack succeeded. Chapter 22. After the great long winter, the world welcomed the great long summer. At some point in time, the vast withered forest grew many leaves, and the ground was no longer bare, full of weeds and blooming flowers. All kinds of animals were running in the forest. Swish! An arrow suddenly shot out from the side of a tree. With a swish, the arrow hit a wild deer. Hee, brother E, you're still the best. A few youths walked out. It was Su Xiaolong, Su Yi, and the others. When they were about to reach the wild deer, it suddenly stood up and ran in the other direction. Where do you think you're going? Su Yi instantly drew his bow. Bang! Unexpectedly, before he could draw his bow, the wild deer was knocked back, and a strong wind exploded from the other side of the forest, directly killing the wild deer. Who is it? The youths immediately aimed their bows at the forest. It's me. Su Fang stepped out from the bushes. Su Fang, where did you go after winter? I haven't seen you for half a year. Su Fang and Su Xiaolong immediately rushed up excitedly, happily hugging Su Fang, and then asked him where he went, and where his mysterious master was. In short, everyone knew that the family Su's higher-ups were able to cultivate again because of Su Fang's mysterious master, so they all wanted to see that godlike person. But Su Fang could only tell the truth. Everyone was inevitably disappointed when they heard that their master had left. Su Xiaolong carried the wild deer's corpse, and the group left the forest while talking and laughing. When they came to the tomb again, there were a lot of vegetable fields around, and the family Su's women and children were busy harvesting vegetables, while a dozen 7- or 8-year-old children were practicing the horse stance in the open space with Su Junyan. Although this was deep in the mountains, the family Su was full of vitality, and everything was thriving. Su Fang is back. When everyone saw Su Fang, he became the focus of everyone's attention. It was as if they had returned to 3 years ago. At that time, Su Fang relied on his own cultivation to reach Qi-eating stage 5, and received all the family Su's attention, saying that he was the family Su's future. Today, the family Su had gone through a disaster, and it was Su Fang, Su Yi, and the others who helped the family Su overcome the disaster. Especially Su Fang helped the higher-ups of the family Su stand up and cultivate again, which gave the Su hope of returning to Tianzong City. However, there was still praise. Su Fang, he was no longer the child of the past, his heart and his emotions. To him, all this was his responsibility, not worth bragging. Fang Su-ting came over excitedly the moment he arrived at his parents' and grandfather's graves. Uncle Su Fang immediately bowed. Su-ting had taken the channel unblocking pill, and after a year of recuperation and cultivation, he had reached the peak of Qi-eating stage, and walked with the strength of a tiger and the strength of a dragon. Good boy, you're only willing to come back in the summer. During the winter, it's all thanks to you that we've been constantly sending game to the family. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to survive. Uncle is very happy to see the current you. Uncle and the others represent everyone in thanking you. Uncle, Fang is also a member of the family Su. I'm just doing my part. My good boy. Su-ting immediately patted Su Fang's shoulder, and then looked at Su Yaotian's grave. My good little brother, you left behind an excellent son. As his older brother, I didn't fulfill my responsibility and shouldn't have stopped Feng Er from cultivating. I almost blocked Feng Er's path of cultivation. Looking at Su Yaotian's cenotaph, Su Ting couldn't help but cry, and then excitedly brought Su Feng to tour the surroundings. When they arrived at the main entrance of the tomb, Su Ting said excitedly, "After taking your master's elixir, your Uncle Yen, I, and the others, all of our meridians recovered that night. This year, we've been cultivating all the time, and now everyone's cultivation has recovered. Moreover, because of the elixir, we can almost enter the flesh embryo stage, but we don't have the method to enter the flesh embryo stage. Since the family Su has strength, we're ready to openly return to Tianzong City." Su Feng asked in surprise, "What about the grudges with the Wu clan? You still don't know, right? The Wu clan has been fighting with the Li clan for several months, and their vitality has been greatly damaged. Furthermore, you killed Wu Dezhang, so the Wu clan is no longer the same as before. Every martial artist in our family Su has reached the peak of the Qi Eater realm because of the elixir. Now, only the Lu clan has so many peak experts, and we're already the second most powerful clan in Tianzong City." Su Ting excitedly explained the current situation to Su Feng. "Everyone agreed to return to Tianzong City, so I sent your Uncle Yen to the Lu clan not long ago to meet the Lu clan's patriarch, Lu Mingxiong. He didn't have any objections and let us settle the grudges with the Wu clan ourselves. Isn't the Lu clan secretly colluding with the Wu clan? So what? There are so many clans in Tianzong City, and the Lu clan doesn't have the power to unify all of them. Furthermore, when he saw that your Uncle Yen had reached the peak of the Qi Eater realm, Lu Mingxiong probably wouldn't want to make things difficult for our family Su. Therefore, we decided yesterday that we'll return to Tianzong City in a few months. The first thing we'll do when we return is to take back everything that belongs to our family Su from the Wu clan. Furthermore, after we take everything from the Wu clan, we still need to properly recuperate and rest this month. At the same time, we'll secretly contact the other clans and hope that they will once again support our family Su." "That's good. Feng Er will return to Tianzong City with the other clansmen. Uncle was waiting for you to say that. Back then, you were able to kill Wu Dezhang, so perhaps even Uncle's strength isn't as good as yours. Furthermore, the news of you killing Wu Dezhang has already spread among the various clans. When the time comes, we need you to return and intimidate those clans. Feng Er, if your father was still alive, he would definitely be happy. Do you still want to go to Tianmen Province?" Su Ting asked earnestly. Tianmen Province, this word was no longer as harsh as before. Su Feng nodded and said, "Feng Er must clear father's name and find father's remains, as well as the clan's divine weapon, the falling moon blade. If I can't do this, I will never forgive myself for the rest of my life." Su Ting stroked Su Feng's head, his eyes filled with guilt and self-blame. "Don't mind what the other clansmen say. They don't know what the cultivation world is, and the loss of the divine weapon, the falling moon blade, has little to do with the decline of my clan. You can only blame Uncle's generation for being useless. Don't let yourself bear too much pressure. Oh right, there's also news about my family Su's seedlings in Tianmen Province. They're all pretty good, but it's a pity that they can only leave the mountain after reaching the flesh body realm. It'll still take a long time. When you enter Tianmen Province in the future, you must unite with your cousin and the others. Tianmen Province is a harsh world, and you also need a strong background to survive." Su Feng listened silently, and only left the graveyard in the evening. "It's been more than half a year. Master, Feng Er has already succeeded in breaking through 78 times. 3 more times and I'll be able to break through to 81 times. From there, I'll step into the perfect physical body realm." He returned to the cave and spent the night cultivating. On the second day, Su Feng actually put away his bag and walked towards the mountain range behind the Purple Cloud Mountain. Half a day later, he entered deeper into the mountain range and found a valley. In such a desolate place, if I really encounter the legendary heaven-defying physical body tribulation, I shouldn't be discovered by anyone. It turned out that he came to the deep mountains to prepare for the tribulation. He only needed 3 more times to reach the perfect physical body realm and welcome the heaven-defying tribulation. The heaven-defying physical body tribulation was an ancient existence that only existed in legends. No one knew whether it really existed or not, but Su Fong had to be prepared. Next to the valley, he simply built a wooden shed, and then began to continue with the last 3 times. The last 3 times. Ayo ayo. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to start cultivating, there was a sudden movement in the forest. Hearing the sound, Su Fong drew his sword and went to the center of the clearing to take a look. In the dark forest, pairs of blood-red eyes appeared. More than a dozen vicious wolves slowly appeared. Their ferocious eyes were enough to make anyone tremble. Bastards, come! Su Fong gradually held his sword and calmly looked at the pack of wolves. Huff, huff, huff. The vicious wolves started to run, their speed getting faster and faster. They jumped over mounds of dirt and passed through the grass, causing a large amount of fallen leaves to be swept up. In the blink of an eye, a few vicious wolves pounced towards Su Fong. Chi-chi! He slashed with his sword. The corpses of the vicious wolves fell from the sky. The wolves' heads were chopped off, and their blood was smeared in the air. The vicious wolves continued to pounce from behind, but Su Fong did not move too much. He walked forward step by step, and the sword in his hand seemed to have grown eyes. It was unknown how much strength Su Fong used. A single slash split the vicious wolves in half. In a short while, he killed more than a dozen vicious wolves. The remaining 3 were so scared that they hurriedly ran away. It was a waste of time. Su Fong came to an open space and sat down cross-legged. After using the 100 acupoint finger arts, he began to circulate the energy in his body. Soon, his skin was filled with blood qi. Over the next few days, the valley would shake from time to time, scaring all the animals away. A few days later, boom! In the valley, a rumbling sound of impact reverberated. Around the open space where Su Fong was sitting cross-legged, the grass had been shaken open, and a circle of blood mist floated around, looking really strange. At this moment, some blood seeped out from his pores. The 81st impact is finally complete. He did not have time to deal with the impurities in the fetal clothes. He immediately used the 100 acupoint finger arts to seal his acupoints. He then lay down to rest. He needed to conserve his energy because the next impact was the final one. According to the 100 acupoint bloodline, the moment he stepped into the grand perfection stage, a heaven-defying tribulation would descend. After the baptism of the heavenly tribulation, he would become a true grand perfection stage expert. After resting for 3 days and recovering his energy, he began to gather all his energy. The energy enveloped his inner strength and blood qi, and circulated them through his meridians. When the 100 acupoint finger arts unsealed his acupoints, a shocking amount of blood qi burst out from his body. At this moment, his body felt like it was being torn apart. At this moment, the blood qi he released floated to the sky. Chi-chi. After an hour, blood-red lightning bolts appeared in the sky high up in the sky. The blood-red lightning appeared for a while, and to Su Fongda's shock, it split into 4 and swept towards Su Fong at a normal speed. The sky above the valley had already turned gray. The heaven-defying marrow-cleansing tribulation, I have to hold on. According to the 100 acupoint bloodline, the heaven-defying marrow-cleansing tribulation was not used to destroy the tribulation taker, but to let the tribulation enter the body and cleanse the marrow. Chi-chi. The moment the 4 blood-red lightning struck his body, Su Fong felt a pain he had never felt before. It swept through his body. His hands, legs, body, and head flickered with lightning and tribulation power. His body no longer belonged to Su Fong. However, Su Fang had to grit his teeth and endure the 4 tribulation lightning bolt. A wave of lightning swept through his body, and a large amount of blood appeared on his skin. The second wave of lightning swept through his body from his feet. It was as if it was tearing Su Fang's body apart. I have to hold on. I can't close my eyes. I can't sleep. His consciousness became hazy. He could not sleep at this moment. Once he lost control of his body, it would be devoured by the tribulation lightning. Chapter 23. That was because the tribulation power's impact was unbearable. This was a baptism. When ancient cultivators entered the great perfection realm, they would receive a divine gift from the heavenly Tao. But to accept this gift, the cultivator had to bear it themselves. The second wave of tribulation power tormented Su Fang. Not only was it painful, but it also made him want to give up and sleep. But if he gave up and chose to sleep, all his previous efforts would have been in vain. Soon, the third wave of tribulation power swept through his body from his head. As the tribulation power continued to push, Su Fang felt his bones shatter. He could hear the sound of his bones dislocating. There were crackling sounds coming from his body. Black blood stains appeared on the grass below him. These were the impurities in his placenta. Every time the tribulation power baptized his body, the placenta would shatter. Once the placenta was removed, a perfect body would be left. It was called a flesh fetus. The 4 waves of tribulation power seemed to represent the 4 great realms of the physical body: Xiantian, Hotian, mortal, and great perfection. Now that he had endured 3 waves of baptism, the last one was about to begin. The tribulation power fused together. This time, it spread from Su Fang's heart to his entire body. His body involuntarily undulated and trembled along with this spreading force. This scene was like the surface of a lake. A large rock suddenly fell into the center of a small lake, and then the lake water surged in all directions. The tribulation power was the same. It surged toward Su Fang's head, hands, legs, meridians, and bones. Su Fang looked at the sky tiredly. Everything seemed to be red. Creak. Suddenly, some of the tribulation power of lightning escaped into the sky and dissipated from his body. Can hold on. Su Fang could finally relax. He did not need to grit his teeth and endure anymore. His body did not feel any pain or weight. It was as if he was floating in the valley. He wanted to move, but he could not use any strength. He could only breathe and blink. But soon, he felt blood flowing through his body. His body gradually gained weight. He was finally able to sit up. He saw that the surrounding grass had actually been shaken into a foot-deep crater by the power of calamity. He then looked at his hands and legs. He actually couldn't see any calluses or scars left behind by cultivation. He was as rosy as a newborn baby. Even his hair was emitting spiritual light. However, the 3 scars on his left hand were still clearly imprinted on it. Those 3 scars caused Su Fang to reveal a gratified and excited smile. "Grandpa, I've finally done it. 3 years. In less than 3 years, my physical body has reached the great circle of perfection. Furthermore, all my meridians have returned to normal. I can become a cultivator and fulfill my mother's final wish and find my father." The 3 scars represented his will, his oath, and his courage. Looking at the sky, he suddenly felt that the world was so big and so deep. "My body still doesn't have much strength, and I'm feeling a little dizzy. I need to rest well." It seemed like it would still take some time for his body to recover after the baptism. According to the final cultivation technique of the 100 Apertures bloodline, once the baptism comes to an end, it will take a very long time for his body to slowly recover. "I have to go back to the wooden hut. Otherwise, if the wild beasts attack me, I can only die." With great difficulty, he crawled towards the wooden shed in the distance. Only after half an incense stick of time did he enter the wooden shed. He even used a wooden frame to block the entrance. Only then did he relax and lie down. Beside him was a treasured sword. If there really was an attack from a wild beast, he could also resist. At this moment, at the peak of the tallest mountain outside the valley, a black-clothed man covered his head with a black cloth. Only a pair of deep eyes could be seen. After going through this tribulation, you have also learned to be strong. My good disciple, I will wait for you at the peak of the vast world. Yang Yizhen stared at the valley. It turned out that he did not leave. Instead, he hid and accompanied Su Fang to the final step, witnessing Su Fang become a great perfection realm martial artist. After staying for a while longer, he turned around and left. This time, he left Purple Chi Mountain completely. A few days and nights passed in the wooden shed. Su Fang slowly opened his eyes and hurriedly sat up. I still can't hold on. I don't know how long I slept. It feels like at least a few days. It turned out that after returning to the wooden shed, he slowly fell asleep. Although he did not want to sleep, in the end, he could not resist the fatigue. When he felt his body again, he had all kinds of senses. Squeak! Suddenly, he heard a very strange sound. He just got up and immediately grabbed his treasured sword and looked around the wooden shed. Could there be wild beasts? He did not find any wild beasts, but he could still hear the strange sound. When he listened carefully, he found that the sound came from underground, causing him to frown. Hearing ant nests seeing through water, seeing stone, he thought of what Yang Yizhen had said. He said that those who had reached the great perfection realm in the ancient era's physical body would have abnormal hearing. They would be able to hear the sound of ants burrowing underground. Could it be change? It seems this is the shocking change brought about by the great perfection realm martial artist. He immediately walked out of the wooden shed and heard even more sound. Buzz, 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 buzz. A series of strange noises came one after another. He was attracted by this strange sound from among the countless other noises. He looked towards the source of the sound and saw a spider web between two big trees in the distance. The spider web was constantly trembling. At the center, a large black spider was dealing with a butterfly that had been entangled. The more the butterfly struggled, the tighter the spider became. In just a short while, the spider took its life. His hearing had undergone a huge change, and his eyesight was also able to clearly see things 100 meters away. It was truly amazing. At this moment, not only did he feel that he had changed, but the world also seemed to have become unfamiliar. I'm so hungry. Without Master's Meridian Loosening Pill, I can only find something to satisfy my hunger. Let's eat first before cultivating. After listening carefully, he ran towards the right side of the forest. In just 3 steps, he had already covered over 30 meters. Shwa shwa. A few breaths later, he returned to the clearing and brought back 2 pheasants. He began to pluck and clean them. After a while, the pheasants were cooked. He had not eaten for a long time. Although there was no seasoning, they were still tender and delicious. It felt like he had not eaten anything in his entire life. There were chicken bones everywhere. Finally feeling comfortable, he stretched his arms. Creaking sounds came from his bones. I don't know how terrifying my strength is now, but I still need to cultivate for a while. I just reached the great perfection realm. My physical body feels weak. Since I reached the great perfection realm and successfully changed my fate, my meridians are also comfortable. I can start cultivating in the Chi Eater realm. I can condense Chi and obtain spirit Chi. After thinking for a while, he sat cross-legged on the ground. The cultivation of the Chi Eater realm appeared in his mind. The 1st to 3rd transformation of the Chi Eater realm was the early stage. The 4th to 6th transformation was the middle stage. The 7th to 9th transformation was the later stage. The last 10 transformations were the great perfection realm. Only when one reached the middle stage of the Chi Eater realm could they begin to condense Chi. In other words, they could control the inner Chi in their body through the Heart Sutra. Only when one reached the seventh transformation and above could they begin to absorb the mysterious spirit qi in nature. Condensing qi, transforming qi, there are still many processes. Luckily, my physical body has reached the great perfection realm and I have inner force in my body. I can directly absorb the natural spirit qi. Once it enters my body, it will fuse with the inner force in my body and transform it into pure spirit qi. Cultivation needed to be done step by step. Although the Qi Eater realm was a basic cultivation, Su Fang still had to go through this process. Back then, he could not cultivate inner force, but now it was not a problem. The entire Tianzong city is cultivating the Qi Eater technique. This is a basic qi condensation technique that every family knows. It seems to be passed down from Tianmen province. After sitting cross-legged, he began to control the inner force to enter his dantian. There were no longer any impurities in his body, and he could directly absorb the spirit qi. Eater. He raised his head slightly and closed his eyes. He took 3 breaths. Every 3 breaths, he would gently open his mouth and call out the word, Eater, to absorb the natural spirit qi into his body. Once it entered his body, the impurities were fused with the inner force. The remaining spirit qi entered his meridians and began to fuse with the inner force. Gradually, the inner force in Su Fang's body was no longer just physical energy. At this time, it was fused with the spirit qi. The inner force began to have subtle changes. It was more majestic and changeable than his own inner force. Fortunately, he was no stranger to the cultivation of the Qi Eater realm. He remembered every step of the cultivation. The benefit of this was that his Qi condensation technique began to change. He had just started to absorb the spirit Qi. Now, the spirit Qi continued to enter his body. All the inner force in his body began to fuse with the spirit Qi, forming spirit qi. Whoosh! Su Fang frowned and immediately looked at his right arm. The skin layer overflowed with a faint purple light. Then, he clearly felt the spirit qi in his dantian. A part of it took the initiative to rush to his right arm. At first, he didn't find it strange. However, it was strange that the spirit qi was not under his control and rushed to his right arm. Could it be that the spirit qi also had eyes? Something even more strange happened. The spirit qi passed through his meridians and muscles to his small arm. All the meridians in his arm showed a faint purple light. Then, the spirit qi that rushed to his arm did not leave. He quickly controlled it. After all, the dantian was the foundation of a cultivator. It was the energy that carried everything. After the spirit qi was controlled, it no longer rushed to his right arm. However, when he began to absorb the spirit qi again, a part of the spirit qi in his body naturally rushed to his right arm. After staring for a while, he suddenly thought of something. Could it be that the purple glow is causing trouble? The purple glow back then, it was because the purple glow rushed to his right arm that his heavily injured body recovered energy. He could begin to cultivate and then cultivate the 100 apertures bloodline to the great perfection. Therefore, the purple glow was wonderful. Back then, Yang Yizhen couldn't explain it clearly. Perhaps it was his understanding. He just said that this was Su Fang's fortuitous encounter and that he would solve the mystery himself in the future. However, now that his right arm took the initiative to absorb the spirit qi, a problem appeared. The human body originally had an energy world in the dantian. When the right arm took the initiative to absorb the spirit qi, it created a second energy world in Su Fang's body. It was one more than ordinary people. Was it good or bad? Could it be related to changing fate? No matter what, I can't stop cultivating just to stop the spirit qi from flowing into my right arm. I'll just go with the flow. This is the will of heaven that made me accidentally merge with the purple glow. He then sensed his dantian. Although he couldn't see the situation in his dantian, because his body had reached the great perfection, he could easily control it. Therefore, he used his body to sense his dantian. In addition to his control of the spirit chi, he was surprised to find that there was more and more spirit chi in his energy reserve. During this process, he also had to transform spirit chi. Transforming spirit chi was also refining spirit chi. It evolved from the ancient cultivation civilization. After refining spirit chi, the spirit chi in his dantian was the real spirit chi. In the future, it would also transform into spirit chi. More than 2 months have passed. I should go back to the ancestral tomb to see uncle. I should try to return to Tianzong City as soon as possible. This way I should also go to Tianmen Province. Father, I will come to your side soon and bring you back so that you can never be separated from mother. A few days passed. Su Fang left the valley. His bitter cultivation in the mountains was finally over. P.S. It's a new day. The background world of the new book is connected to the world of miracles. Soon a vision will appear. Chapter 24. Tomb Temple. The return of Su Fang naturally made the family Su happy. He first paid his respects to his relatives, especially his grandfather. In less than 3 years, he had fulfilled his promise. It was a pity that his grandfather couldn't witness this scene in his lifetime. Since Fang is back, we will attack the Wu clan tonight and officially return to Tianzong City. Dusk arrived. The midsummer sky was exceptionally quiet. A bonfire was burning in front of the tomb temple. All the members of the family Su surrounded the bonfire with Su Ting as the center. After experiencing this calamity, most of the elders in the family Su had passed away. Now, only the middle-aged generation could support the family Su. Su Junyan said, "Tonight, only we will enter Tianzong City. The rest of you will stay here and wait for news. The Wu clan still has many experts. We must not be careless. Check your weapons. We will leave in half an hour." Su Ting immediately stood up and the rest followed suit. The women and children returned to the tomb temple to rest. Su Fang, Su Yi, Su Xiaolong, and the rest of the 20 youths gathered in the forest. When Su Ting and Su Junyan led over 40 experts into the forest, everyone rushed down the mountain under the moonlight. 2 hours later, the family Su members not only successfully opened the city gates, but they also quietly entered the city. Because it was midsummer, every street was filled with commoners who were relaxing with their families. After the family Su members entered, they spread out in groups of 3 to 5 and rushed towards the Wu clan's territory. A few streets away from the family Su was the Wu clan's territory. The Wu clan didn't have a foothold in Tianzong City as long as the family Su. However, because many seedlings entered Tianmen province to cultivate in the past few decades, many martial artists were born. Especially powerful experts like Wu Dezhang, they were considered a second-rate clan in Tianzong City. Perhaps because the Wu clan had been in conflict with the family Su and Li clan for the past 2 years, the streets around the Wu clan were not as crowded as other places. Everyone split up. I will personally meet Lu Mingxiong. The rest of you will kill your way into the residences of the Wu clan's managers. Other than killing those who should be killed, try not to harm the servants, women, and children. Dozens of people gathered on the streets at the same time. Su Ting gave a few instructions, and everyone split into 5 groups. Each group had around 10 people, and they rushed towards the residences of the Wu clan. "Uncle, leave Wu Yongyuan to me." At this moment, in front of a grand mansion, more than 10 people blocked the main entrance. With a wave of Su Ting's hand, 2 people in a team immediately jumped onto the city wall. Su Fang immediately walked toward the Wu family's gate. After Su Ting nodded, Su Fang struck the heavy iron door with his palm. The 2 doors weighed more than 1,000 jin, but under the force of Su Fang's palm, not only were they knocked down, they were also shattered into pieces. Clang clang, the sound of metal shattering reverberated throughout the tranquil Wu family courtyard. Someone is invading. The commotion was too great. Suddenly, from both sides of the corridor and the corridor in front of the courtyard, black-clothed servants rushed out. They were armed with bows and crossbows. They gathered in the courtyard and blocked Su Ting, Su Fang, and the others. If the dozens of family Su's men had used their crossbows, the family Su's men would have been pierced by thousands of arrows in an instant. Clan leader, it's the remnants of the family Su. The stalemate lasted for a while. The family Su didn't move, and the Wu family also didn't move. A path opened up in front of the courtyard. A middle-aged man with a dragon's beard and chest puffed out appeared in the courtyard with several experts with different auras. This was the Wu family's clan leader, Wu Yongyuan. Wu Yongyuan, we meet again. 2 years ago, you ambushed my family Su and killed the innocent. Not even the elderly and children were spared. Nearly 1,000 lives were lost by you and Wu Dezhang's hands. Today I'm here to take revenge. Su Ting's furious roar shook the Wu family servants in the courtyard, causing them to cover their ears with their hands. After taking an immortal pill, not only had his injuries healed, but his strength had also increased. Su Ting had reached the peak of the Qi Eater realm, so his aura was naturally not something ordinary people could withstand. Wu Yongyuan was also shocked. You actually recovered your strength. If that wasn't the case, why would I come looking for you in the middle of the night to take revenge? Wu family, listen up. If you give up resisting now, I won't take revenge on you. If you resist, then this place will turn into a river of blood. Su Ting, who had experienced great storms and the decline of his family, naturally had the aura of a ruler. Wu Yongyuan frowned. Don't listen to his nonsense. If we give up, we'll all become family Su's prisoners. Are you willing to be slaves for the rest of your lives? Su Fang suddenly took a step forward. Uncle, let Fang take down this evil person whose hands are stained with my family Su's blood. He's that Su Fang who killed the head instructor. The Wu family immediately retreated 3 steps in fright. All right, take down that bastard Wu Yongyuan. The rest of them can live. Su Ting happily agreed. Wu Yongyuan. Like an angry beast, Su Fang immediately walked towards Wu Yongyuan without fear of any arrows. You're just a brat who's still wet behind the ears. How can you flip the sky and shoot arrows? Wu Yongyuan wasn't someone who would be easily frightened by a few words. However, he wasn't afraid. Those servants were extremely terrifying. With one order, no one dared to move. Trash. The 5 men behind Wu Yongyuan suddenly took a few steps forward. They took out their bows and immediately aimed at Su Fang. Without hesitation, they shot arrows with killing intent. Xiao 5 arrows flew towards Su Fang like black meteors. At this moment, Su Ting and the Su family's experts were sweating for him, but Su Fang didn't have any intention of dodging, nor did he look like he was going to attack. He just stood there, coldly looking at the 5 arrows hitting his body. Then, an unbelievable scene occurred. The 5 arrows hit Su Fang's chest at the same time without any error. The arrows were like wood and dried grass. Not only did they not pierce through Su Fang's chest, they didn't even leave a mark on his skin. His body wasn't made of flesh and blood. He blocked the arrows. This was a body of steel. Monster, monster! The Wu family members were so frightened that they couldn't even hold their bows properly. Grand perfection, could it be grand perfection? At this time, a dozen people rushed in from the front door. It was Su Junyan. It seemed he had returned victorious. When he saw Su Fang block the arrows with his body, he couldn't help but exclaim. Su Ting was even more shocked than the Wu family members. What is grand perfection? Su Junyan sighed. Back in the martial hall, when I was talking with Fang I inadvertently mentioned the legend of the ancient physical body cultivation. My intention was to give Fang hope. Who would have thought that Fang would have succeeded? Su Fang nodded slightly. Uncle, Fang has indeed cultivated in Purple Qi Mountain for the past 2 years and reached the grand perfection of the ancient physical body. Now, any chi-eating realm martial artist is no threat to me. Furthermore, Feng Er has also repaired all the blocked and deformed meridians in my body. I can already cultivate internally. My good little brother, if your spirit is in heaven, you should have heard it as well. Tears began to fall from Su Ting's eyes. Su Junyan waved his blood-stained saber. Wu family members, every injustice has its perpetrator and every debt has its debtor. Your Wu family stewards have all been killed, but the rest have all been spared. My family Su is not your Wu family. We won't leave any leeway and will kill everyone. As long as you don't resist, we won't make things difficult for you. Don't let them mislead us. Kill this little bastard. Back then, I couldn't kill Su Yaotian time and time again. This time, I'll kill his son. Wu Yongyuan once more gave the order to kill the 5 experts. Whoosh whoosh. The 5 experts were Wu Yongyuan's 5 dogs. When they heard the order to kill, they immediately threw away their bows and took out their swords. They either jumped or charged at Su Feng. Su Feng frowned slightly. I gave you a way out, but you didn't take it. You just had to send yourselves to death. Then what's the point of wasting my breath? I'll just send you on your way. The 5 expert swords were just about to hack Su Feng to death. Su Feng suddenly punched out. His fist contained an aura that could be seen with the naked eye. That aura was like a flood that followed his fist through the air. Crackle, crackle. The 5 people in front of him were instantly pushed back by the fist light by 3 meters. With a bang, the 5 of them collapsed to the ground. Each of them no longer had the slightest trace of life. They lay on the ground like dead pigs. Shoot! Wu Yongyuan was terrified. He had never seen such a valiant person. The Wu family's experts were all trembling in fear. Some of them had even wet their pants. It was unknown whether it was because they were too frightened or for some other reason, but they still shot arrows. The archers around Wu Yongyuan were determined to turn Su Feng into a beehive. They continuously shot arrows. Su Feng angrily walked toward Wu Yongyuan, ignoring the rain of arrows. Those arrows struck different parts of his body, but the result was the same. They didn't injure him at all. Instead, they shattered. All of a sudden, the guards who were shooting arrows were so scared that they all fled. Surround and kill this person. Kill your way out. Only a dozen experts remained by Wu Yongyuan's side. They immediately charged at Su Feng. Su Feng looked at the broken arrows on the ground and suddenly swept his right foot. With a bang, dozens of broken arrows shot toward the guards. In the end, none of them survived. Their bodies were filled with broken arrows. Where do you think you're going? Su Feng suddenly leaped away. Wu Yongyuan had chosen to flee toward the inner courtyard. You can't kill the innocent. Chase. Su Ting yelled and chased after Su Junyan. Bang. But who would have thought that just as the 2 of them reached the center of the courtyard, Su Feng would suddenly be sent flying through the air before sliding to the ground. Then, a bloody mark appeared on his right palm. You're courting death, you little bastard. Your father lost the falling moonblade, but the Wu family still has the immortal thorn armor. You can't kill me. Wu Yongyuan actually returned and walked out of the inner courtyard openly. It turned out that he was wearing a black vest. There were many small thorns on this vest. They weren't deep, but they were densely packed. This immortal thorn armor was the Wu family's immortal thorn armor. It was a magic treasure that only cultivators could use. No ordinary weapon was a match for it. Only the family Su's family treasure, the falling moonblade. Su Junyan was also shocked. This is the immortal thorn armor. It's indeed the Wu family's immortal thorn armor. This treasure is a defensive magic treasure, so it's rare to see. Only the family head of each generation can fuse with it. Su Ting looked at Su Feng. Feng are you alright? Su Feng shook his head. I was just shaken. Don't worry, everyone. He's like a tortoise with a shell. His head, hands, and legs are his weak spots. Also, he can't shrink like a tortoise. You little bastard. Wu Yongyuan heard that the family head was called a tortoise. How could he show his face? You're courting death. Wu Yongyuan grabbed a flexible sword. He had too many tricks up his sleeve. It could be seen that he was indeed someone with many tricks up his sleeves to become the family head. Whoosh! Wu Yongyuan took the initiative to attack. Because he had the immortal thorn armor, he was not afraid of Su Fang's direct attacks. Hence, he waved his flexible sword and intertwined it. Be careful! Su Ting and Su Junyan were still worried for Su Fang. Chapter 25. After all, one of them was a cultivator in Tianmen province. The other was a 16-year-old teenager. No one knew what Su Fang was thinking about. Facing Su Junyan's attack, he dodged to the right and appeared in front of the corridor a few feet away. This little bastard's speed. Could it be that he really had a perfected ancient physical body? Wu Yongyuan swore that he must kill Su Fang. He had a magic treasure and a fast attack. How could he not deal with a kid? Who would have thought that he would pounce on nothing? When I was chatting with Master, he mentioned magic treasures. Although I don't know much about magic treasures, this is a magic treasure that only cultivators can use. Wu Yongyuan is only in the Chi-Eater realm and has yet to gather spirit power. How could he activate the power of the immortal thorn armor? He could only wear it like a vest. Looking at his right palm, Su Fang experienced the power of a magic treasure for the first time. Moreover, when he saw the immortal thorn armor, he began to plan in his heart. I want to go to the Sky Gate Prefecture and explore the Sky Gate. If I can get this immortal thorn armor, won't I have another trump card to stand on? I'll kill you first. At this time, Wu Yongyuan couldn't deal with Su Fang for the time being, so he attacked Su Ting and Su Junyan. Chi. He had just moved 1 foot forward when a sword light flashed across his left arm. In a split second, blood splattered everywhere. Wu Yongyuan's left arm was separated from his body by Su Fang's sharp sword, and fell to the ground with a clang. The whole Su residence resounded with Wu Yongyuan's painful scream. Su Ting and Su Junyan's cold sweat disappeared. They first nodded to Su Fang and then waved to the family Su. Archers, get ready. Shoot at his legs, head, and arms. Swish, swish, swish. More than 20 people readied their bows. They took advantage of Wu Yongyuan's most painful moment to kill him. Clang. Some arrows hit the immortal thorn armor and shattered. A few arrows hit Wu Yongyuan, but he pounced on Su Ting crazily, as if he knew that his time was up. How can I let you hurt my uncle? Su Fang suddenly shook his right hand, and a white light broke through the air, passing through Wu Yongyuan's neck in the blink of an eye. Wu Yongyuan's body shook as blood gushed out from his throat. He did not know where the strength came from, but as a Chi-Eater martial artist, his body must be full of spirit Chi. His whole body exploded with 10 layers of Chi waves. This is called being careful. Seeing this, Su Ting and Su Junyan seemed to know that something terrible was about to happen. Both of them released 10 layers of Chi waves, releasing their auras and pressuring the surrounding family Su expert. The family Su people fell to the ground together, protected by the 10-fold airwaves released by the two masters. Boom! At the same time, Wu Yongyuan's physical body took the last step. With lightning speed, a shocking explosion burst out from his lower abdomen. A bloody aura swept out in all directions, causing the air in the courtyard to churn into a circle of air wave. The bloody aura carried with it a large amount of shards that shot out in all directions. Some of the blood and flesh even shattered the stone pillars in the corridor. Wu Yongyuan, a living person, had disappeared. Around the explosion, a wide crack appeared on the ground. It was caused by the force of the explosion. If someone was in the range of the explosion, they would have been smashed to pieces. Immortal thorn armor. A few feet away, Su Fang grabbed the immortal thorn armor that was flying towards him the moment the blood mist exploded. Su Ting, Su Junyan, and the others slowly looked behind them, feeling a burst of fear. They then stood up. Yes. Su Fang grabbed the immortal thorn armor with his right hand. He felt that this magic treasure had absorbed his blood. It was not much, just a few drops. I accidentally merged with this treasure. Su Fang sized up the immortal thorn armor with pleasant surprise. It looked like iron, but was as light as a feather. Bring the Wu family's people to the courtyard. We can't let off those executioners who killed my family. As for the rest of you, quickly return to the Su family's territory and inform everyone that from today onwards, the Su family will take control of the Wu family and the Su family. Su Ting began to plan the next step. Soon, a large number of Wu family members were brought to the courtyard. These people were already scared out of their wit. When it was almost dawn, the courtyard was filled with Wu family members. There were not many guards around, only Su Yi, Su Xiaolong, and a dozen other youths. Open the Wu family's treasure room. At this time, in the inner courtyard of the residence. In a forbidden courtyard, outside a stone palace, Su Ting and Su Fang brought a few family Su experts to interrogate two guards. This treasure room can only be opened by the family head. Look at the door and the lock, they are all made of cold iron. The guard explained honestly. Cold iron. Su Ting frowned. This was not easy. He looked at Su Fang. The Wu family took away my family Su. Most of my family Su's treasures are stored here. If we want to establish ourselves in Tianzong City, we need financial support. Uncle, let me do it. Su Fang suddenly took out a white dagger. This was the dagger that gave Wu Yongyuan a fatal attack. Cold iron was the strongest material. To deal with cold iron, one must use a magic treasure. Moreover, this stone palace was made of huge stones, layer by layer. Even if Su Fang used his physical strength, he would not be able to easily open it, unless he had spiritual power. Everyone retreated. Su Fang grabbed the dagger and looked at the black lock. He circulated his spiritual power and in a flash, he slashed the dagger at the lock. There was a cracking sound as the lock was broken. But before Su Fang could be happy, the dagger in his hand also broke. I used it several times. This time, it finally broke against cold iron. His heart ached. This dagger was very useful to him. It was a powerful attack. Not to mention Qi-eating realm martial artists, he was confident in dealing with flesh embryo realm cultivators with this dagger. At least it was his magic treasure to win by surprise. What kind of treasure is this? It's a pity that it broke. Su Ting did not have time to be happy. It seemed that he had caused Su Fang to lose a good treasure. This is a magic treasure fragment that I obtained from Purple Qi Mountain. It is very sharp. Unfortunately, it is just a fragment. I can only use it a few times. If it breaks, then it breaks. Fine. You have the immortal thorn armor anyway. Let's go in. Su Ting comforted him. He had the family Su experts stand guard outside. He pushed open the cold iron door and immediately saw a dazzling hall. Although it was not very big, there were many chests inside. After entering the treasury, they were immediately blinded by the light of some jewels. Su Ting's tears flowed down his face. With so many treasures, it was more than enough to rebuild the family Su. But Su Fang only came in to see the excitement. He was not interested in these treasures. He also came to protect Su Ting. He was worried that there would be traps inside. But when he passed by the corner, his gaze was attracted by an ordinary chest. His right hand was slightly swaying towards the chest. Could it be? His right hand only reacted to magic treasures. Could it be? Opening the chest, he immediately saw some golden necklaces and some golden accessories. But they all looked broken, which was why they were placed in the same chest. He flipped through them, and his right hand reacted even more strongly. At the bottom of the chest, he saw over a dozen magic treasure fragments. They were all different colors and shape. Some were bronze, some were gold, and some were silver. The Wu family has been in Tianzong City for so many years. It seems they have unintentionally collected quite a few magic treasure fragments. Su Fang excitedly took out the fragments one by one. Su Ting walked over and curiously asked, Fang why are you so happy? They should all be magic treasure fragments. These fragments are useless to cultivators. I want to use them for research. Su Fang did not want Su Ting to know his intentions. Then you can search around. Take as many as you find. Uncle will go check the deed. Su Ting did not care. He also treated Su Fang as his own child. Everything here belonged to the family Su, and also to Su Fang. He could take whatever he wanted. After Su Ting left, he had people close the cold iron door. 13 fragments. This time, he suddenly obtained so many magic treasure fragments. After searching for a while, he could not find any that could be used to attack directly. He walked further inside, slowed down, and put his arm near each chest. Sure enough, in the process, he found a few more fragments. Then he took all the fragments to the end of the treasury. At a corner, he put the fragments on his right arm. His right arm immediately released a faint purple light, absorbing the power of the magic treasure fragments like before. Broken magic treasures also have residual power. After my right arm absorbs it, I wonder what strange changes will happen. He waited quietly. As his right arm absorbed the power of the magic treasure fragments, he felt some of the energy in his body automatically rush to his right arm. He could clearly feel that his right arm was full of power. This power even surpassed the power in his dantian. Moreover, his right arm absorbed the power of the magic treasure fragments very quickly, several times faster than before. He simply put all the magic treasure fragments near his right arm and began to absorb them together. The immortal thorn armor is also reacting. I cannot let it be absorbed by my right arm. He curiously put his right arm near his body. In the end, he felt that the immortal thorn armor under his clothes was also moving slightly, as if it was about to be absorbed by his right arm. However, compared to the magic treasure fragments, the immortal thorn armor only reacted slightly. Half a day later, crack! More than a dozen magic treasure fragments shattered at the same time. At the same time, they formed an aura that swept around the surroundings. Tsk. Su Fang was about to stand up, but he heard something on his left. He casually looked over and saw that there were 3 paintings in the middle of the stone wall. The painting in the middle was actually rolled up. When he took a closer look, the back of the painting was empty. Hidden compartment. Su Fang immediately went to the painting and moved it aside. He immediately saw a rectangular hidden compartment with a long wooden box inside. He took the wooden box down and muttered in his heart, "They spent so much effort to hide it. It seems like it is not an ordinary treasure." The moment he carefully opened the wooden box, he saw something familiar. His eyes were filled with surprise. It was a meridian loosening elixir. Immortal elixir. No wonder the Wu clan hid it so well. It was an immortal elixir. What is this? There was a talisman beside the immortal elixir. It was a red talisman made of a large number of fire patterns. Could this be the pattern talisman that Master mentioned? Just like the 3 jade slips he left me? Su Fang felt that it was unfamiliar at first, but he quickly recognized that it was a pattern talisman. Pattern talisman was a treasure that only very powerful cultivators could condense. Unfortunately, Su Fang's realm was too low, and he didn't know much about cultivation. If Yang Yizhen was here, he would be able to recognize it at a glance. Put it away first. I don't need it now, but I can use it in the future. Su Fang put the wooden box back, leaving the 2 treasures behind. Since even Wu Yongyuan couldn't use the meridian loosening elixir and the red pattern talisman, they were also useless to the family Su. When he goes to Tianmen province in the future, these things will come in handy. Su Fang, all the clans in Tianzong City have sent envoys to congratulate us. The clan leader wants you to go to the hall. Su Yi's voice came from outside the treasury. This was a big matter. He was afraid that some clans would come to cause trouble. He had to help his clan get through this as soon as possible and then go to Tianmen province. Chapter 26. Inside the Wu family's courtyard, dozens of envoys from Tianzong City's families gathered to congratulate Su Ting. The family Su also displayed their current strength. Experts who had reached the peak of the Qi Eater realm purposely released their auras to show off their might as kings. This night was the happiest night for the family Su in years. Fang you're leaving Tianzong City for Tianmen province? They partied until late at night. Dawn was about to arrive. At this moment, Su Ting and Su Junyan were in a drunken stupor in the corridor of the Su family's inner courtyard. When they heard that Su Fang was going to the Heaven's Gate Prefecture, and that it would be dawn, the two of them were astonished. Su Junyan said, "If you rely on yourself to get to Tianmen province, it will take at least 3 months. There will be many dangers along the way, especially the Yuzue River. That is the only way to Tianmen province. After crossing the Yuzue River, there is another world. There are many demonic beasts that even cultivators have trouble dealing with. There is also the Nightmare Cave. Once you reach there, you will be in Tianmen province. Yuzue River Nightmare Cave. These worlds were unknown to mortals, but Su Fang was no stranger to them. He had heard the family Su's warriors talk about these two places since he was young. The Yuzue River was a dangerous place. There were piranhas living in the river. Mortals could only swim to cross the river, but most of them became food for the piranhas. As for the Nightmare Cave, that was a special fortress. Because it was built by the Elysium Prefecture, there were experts from the Elysium Saint Emperor overseeing that world. There was a powerful cave master who was an emperor of a region. It was said that that place was incomparably dangerous. If mortals wanted to cultivate, they would have to follow the rules set by Tianmen province. A test would be held every 3 years. Then, the envoys would personally take the seedlings who passed the test to Tianmen province. Thus, they would not encounter any danger. But if a person wanted to go to Tianmen province, they would have to walk. Uncle Yen, I will be careful. If it really doesn't work, I will come back. In order to not worry the two elders, he could only give himself a way out. Come back. He was the kind of person who would not easily give up until he achieved his goal. Child, you've been tough since you were young, just like your father. Su Ting suddenly hugged Su Fang's head, his eyes moist. Back then, I should have been the one to attend the Heavenly Gates Prefecture's gathering. In the end, your father replaced me and took away the falling moon blade in the middle of the night. You have the same temperament as your father. Once you have decided on something, no one can change it. Su Fang looked at Su Ting quietly, as if he was his own child. Sky Gate Prefecture was built by the Holy Emperor of Sky Gate. I've heard that this man has been cultivating for 1,000 years, but no one has ever seen him. Although Sky Gate Prefecture is a holy land of cultivation that everyone yearns for, the conditions for cultivation there are very difficult. Everyone who enters must reach a certain realm within a set time, or else they will be ruthlessly driven out. Only the fittest can survive. After going through layers of selection, very few people can continue to cultivate in Sky Gate Prefecture, such as your uncle, Uncle Yen, and your father. We were all driven out helplessly. In Tianzong City, no one has been able to cultivate in Sky Gate Prefecture for more than 20 years, and no one can stay in Sky Gate Prefecture forever. In your eyes, Tianmen Province is too competitive. Ordinary people can't get cultivation resources at all. The probability of advancing to the flesh-body realm is less than 1%. Lu Mingxiong, the head of the Lu family, did advance to the flesh-body realm, but he still left Tianmen province. Therefore, that place is not the holy land that you think it is, but hell. However, Cultivating in Tianmen province will also bring you a lot of benefit. You can see what a real immortal is like, and you can see all kinds of strange big goblin. At this point, Su Ting was unable to recover from the memories of the past for a long time. Su Fang was also in a daze. He didn't expect that Tianmen province was also a place that required hard work. Su Ting said earnestly and reluctantly, Fang especially your immortal thorn armor, don't let others know about it. In Tianmen province, it's not easy for a flesh-body realm cultivator to get a magic treasure. Moreover, the cultivators there are all murderers and robbers. The journey there will be difficult. Uncle believes that you will enter Tianmen province as you wish. Uncle Yen, uncle, I will take my leave now. Su Fang lowered his head, turned around, and walked towards the courtyard. Fang take care. Su Ting and Su Junyan chased after him. However, when they reached the Wu family's gate, Su Fang was nowhere to be seen. Mother, grandfather, I will definitely bring father back the next time I come back. Purple Chi Mountain. Su Fang had just climbed over the last mountain. He turned around and looked at the distant tombs. With reluctance and courage, he immediately walked towards the vast mountain range in front of him. He only brought a package, a water bag, and a sharp sword. The package contained the treasures left behind by Yang Yizhen, a few days' worth of rations, and a set of spare clothes. The sky gradually brightened. When he turned back, Purple Chi Mountain was only the size of a fist. Su Fang also completely let go of his speed. He used the power of a great perfection stage cultivator. The speed he released was like a cheetah running deep in the mountains. Furthermore, a great perfection stage cultivator had many advantages. For example, he didn't need to eat for a few days. He also didn't feel hungry. His hearing, vision, and senses could sense the movements around him. This way, he could avoid encountering wild beasts. Unknowingly, more than a month passed. It's a pity that there are only Chi-Eater realm cultivation techniques in Tianzong City. If there are flesh-body realm cultivation techniques, I can enter the flesh-body realm. A giant beast stood on top of a mountain peak in the middle of the mountains. In the evening, Su Fang was condensing his qi. His dantian had a large amount of spirit qi. Even his right hand felt full of energy. After the qi transformation cultivation, all the energy in his body was pure spirit qi. Now, he was just one step away from condensing spirit qi and entering the flesh-body realm. Only with spirit qi could he activate the immortal thorn armor and other treasures. With my speed, I should be reaching Fish Mouth River soon. He rested for an entire day and ate some roasted meat. Then, the night sky gradually turned into day. Looking at the current Su Fang, his clothes were tattered, and his head was covered in layers of fog. His body was more robust and tall, and he was almost 1.8 meters tall. After packing his package, he disappeared into the depths of the fog sea. Wet forest. A few more days passed. He crossed the vast wilderness from before and arrived in front of an incomparably flat forest. Occasionally, he could see some mountain peaks in the forest. After entering the forest, he first listened to the movements inside. As expected, he heard the sounds of many wild beasts. He tried his best to move forward quietly. In the afternoon, he realized that the interior of the forest was a wetland. Many swamps and wetlands were connected to each other. If one was not careful, they would devour life. Fortunately, after reaching the Great Circle, he could use any material to fly in the air. He tried his best to move along the grassland where the wild grass and trees grew. Dong dong, suddenly, a relatively large swamp appeared in front of him. Just as Su Fang was about to cross it, he hurriedly staggered and hid behind a big tree. There was movement in front of him. He looked at the lake formed by the swamp and saw ripples of water. It seems like there was a flood here. Could it be that Fish Mouth River is behind this forest? Now, he looked around carefully and realized that the trees had signs of being flooded. Splash, splash, suddenly, The sound of waves came from the swamp in front of him. He stuck his head out to take a look. A black shadow was constantly twisting and turning, shuttling and struggling in the swamp. It seemed to be a huge water monster. In the end, when Su Fong focused and looked over, he realized that it was indeed a huge water monster. It was a huge water snake, and its body was covered with red fish that were more than a foot long. There were more than 100 red fish. They bit the muscles of the huge water snake and ate the snake's skin. In the mud behind it, dozens of red fish darted out and opened their mouths to bite the head and neck of the huge water snake. It seemed that the huge water snake had been attacked for a long time. After struggling for a while, it stopped moving. The red fish surrounded the huge water snake and savagely tore off pieces of its flesh. In the process, the snake's blood attracted more red fish. In just half an hour, the huge water snake, which was about 100 feet long, was completely eaten by hundreds of red fish. Only the skeleton was left. Could this be the Fishmouth River? The legendary piranhas are indeed terrifying. Even the huge water snake is not their match. How can mortals deal with them? After quietly waiting for a while, the school of fish gradually dispersed. Su Fong then continued to move forward. About a few hundred meters into the swamp forest, he saw a few monster skeletons. He did not expect the piranhas to be so ferocious. They almost swept through the forest and stood at the top of the food chain. As he continued to move forward, he saw a large number of monster skeletons along the way. There were also human skeletons. Rumble. 2 days later, he heard the roaring of the river. After passing through the last forest, he could no longer see the swamp. Instead, a huge river, which was about 1,000 meters wide, suddenly appeared. This was the Fishmouth River. The current of the Fishmouth River was rapid. It constantly slammed against the rocks on both sides of the river, creating waves of water. Looking upstream and downstream, he could see that some of the river channels looked very much like the mouth of a fish. Perhaps this was the origin of the Fishmouth River. The river is too wide. There is only one way to cross the river. Cut a large number of logs and roll them into the river channel. Then, use the logs as landing points and quickly fly across the river. Such a natural barrier was difficult to cross. Moreover, there were large numbers of piranhas that were swept by the whirlpool from time to time. If he wanted to swim across, it would undoubtedly be suicidal. He thought of an idea. If there were logs on the river surface that he could land on, he could use the speed of his perfect physical body and step on the logs to cross the Fishmouth River. However, the chances of success were not very high. Gotcha. After thinking for almost half a day, he still did not sit down and make a decision. Such a natural barrier was not something that could be crossed with courage. However, a strange crashing sound suddenly came from under the river. There was another series of banging sounds. Su Fong looked curiously at a large bubble that suddenly emerged from under the rapid river. Could there be a big water monster? Su Fong took a few steps back, his heartbeat accelerating. He immediately saw a large turtle shell emerge. The turtle shell was more than 3 meters long and was oval in shape. After the turtle shell appeared, it was surrounded by a group of piranhas. They used their sharp teeth to attack the turtle shell. It was no wonder that there was a series of banging sounds. Su Fong did not expect a hoarse voice to come from the large turtle shell. "Human friend, do you want to cross the river? We can make a deal." You. Su Fong's body instantly shivered. The demon turtle spoke again. "I'm the dragon turtle spirit. I've always lived under the Wan Yuan River and often trade with humans. Although I'm a demon and have become a spirit, our Xian Turtle clan has never harmed humans. I've always cooperated with humans here and carried them across the river. In return, humans would hunt for prey for me. Is that so? You only want prey?" Su Fong asked doubtfully. "Our turtle clan's cultivation is slow. We can only rely on our own growth to obtain strength. However, the food in the river has been eaten up by the piranhas. Our Turtle Clan's days are not easy. Furthermore, I have a good relationship with the cultivators in the Nightmare Cave. They all know me and often cooperate with me. You don't have to worry at all. Can I believe it? A big question mark appeared in Su Fang's mind. The Xian turtle spirit said again, "You have to be fast. The tide is about to rise. At that time, the water will overflow the shore and a large number of piranhas will appear. It will be impossible for you to cross the river then. P.S. It's almost the weekend. I hope everyone can relax. The weather is also cold. My fingers are freezing when I type." Chapter 27. The tide was going to rise. This made Su Fang think of the groups of piranhas in the forest. If that was the case, then let alone crossing the river, even his life would be in danger. As long as he crossed the Fishmouth River, the other side would be Nightmare Cave's territory. Nightmare Cave was also one of the territories controlled by Tianmen Province, so as long as he stepped onto the other side, he would have actually reached Tianmen Province. How much prey do you want? After some consideration, Su Fang still couldn't resist the temptation and chose to cooperate with the Black Tortoise Spirit and the Dragon Tortoise Spirit. The Dragon Tortoise Spirit immediately replied, "The more the better. Use a portion to attract the piranhas so we can safely cross the river. Leave the rest for me as food." "Deal, wait for me for a bit." Su Fang immediately turned around and ran into the forest. The Black Tortoise Spirit that revealed its shell suddenly revealed its head from the water's surface. Its head was actually like a large snake's head, but also like a dragon from legends because of the black horn on its head. The Dragon Tortoise Spirit's dark green demon eyes glanced at the shore and its head immediately sank into the water. A large number of piranhas surrounded it and attacked it, but how could the piranhas bite through such a sturdy turtle shell? 6 hours later, it was almost dusk. A figure fell onto the shore with a crash along with the rustling leaf. It turned out that Su Fang had returned. He was dragging dozens of pheasants and hares, but didn't catch any large prey. The Dragon Tortoise Spirit's senses seemed to be very powerful. It didn't even need to look to know that Su Fang had returned. You have to be careful of some of the piranhas. Come to my back and bleed the prey. Try to throw them as far away as possible. The piranhas like fresh blood, so most of them will be attracted over. Then we can reach the other side. Bang Su Fang was also very skilled and daring. He jumped down from the 3-meter-high shore and steadily landed on the Dragon Tortoise Spirit's back. At this moment, the piranhas seemed to have also sensed the movement and appeared even more excited and savage. The Dragon Tortoise Spirit began to move, but it wasn't fast. The piranhas didn't leave no matter what. Su Fang hurriedly followed the Dragon Tortoise Spirit's instructions and bleed the pheasants and hares before throwing them a few dozen meters away. In a short while, the piranhas sensed it and all scrambled to swim up. The rest of the piranhas noticed the blood in the air. They jumped out of the water one by one and opened their mouths to bite Su Fang. Fortunately, Su Fang was already prepared. He grabbed the spirit chi in his body and turned it into a wave of aura. He shook the incoming piranhas away. If it was a mortal, they would have been shaken to death. However, these piranhas were only shaken away. He did not expect them to be as powerful as a chi-eating martial artist. He tossed out more prey, and as a result, the number of piranhas decreased. The Dragon Turtle Spirit also swam downstream slowly, and it only got rid of all the piranhas after the time it took to burn a stick of incense. As for the prey that had been thrown away, they had long been snatched up by a group of strange red fish. When Su Fang saw this, he finally heaved a sigh of relief and squatted down. His eyes flashed with curiosity. "Did you just say that this is the 10,000 Abyss River and not the Fishmouth River?" The Dragon Turtle Spirit replied hoarsely, Fishbeak River is just a name you humans came up with. However, this river is actually the 10,000 Abyss River. Only the strongest among you humans know the true name of this river. It's just a river, not a sea. How could it be remembered by the strong? Don't underestimate this 10,000 Abyss River. This river is bottomless. The shallowest part is dozens of feet deep. Most parts are hundreds of feet deep, and some parts are even thousands of feet deep. The river is this deep? That's because this 10,000 Abyss River was created by you human experts a long time ago when they were fighting. That's why it formed this bottomless valley. Later, the river flowed backwards and formed the current 10,000 Abyss River. What kind of expert would have such strength? Su Fang's chin trembled. He did not expect a cultivator to have such strength. The dragon turtle spirit spoke again. My name is Gabatu. I've always lived in the depths of this 10,000 Abyss River. I know this place like the back of my hand. I'm also very familiar with you human cultivators, so you don't have to worry. Crossing the river is a piece of cake. Gabatuit was a very strange name, but Su Fang also remembered this name. This was the first demon he had encountered that could speak. Gabata suddenly asked, "Are you a cultivator from Nightmare Cave or Tianmen Province?" "This is my first time going out. I'm going to Tianmen Province's touch the Heaven's Gate to join Tianmen Province to cultivate." After chatting for a while, Su Fang did not have much vigilance against this dragon turtle spirit. I've often heard humans talk about touch the Heaven's Gate. So you're going to Tianmen Province. The dragon turtle spirit suddenly stopped talking. At this moment, Su Fang gradually saw the other side of the river approaching. It was about 200 feet away, and the river was still flowing rapidly. He did not know if the piranhas would appear, so he could only wait for Gabatu to slowly approach. A turtle, he now had a deep understanding of this. Then your family can rest assured that you'll come out. Gabata spoke again. My parents have passed away. Even my grandfather left me not long ago. This time, I'm going to Tianmen Province to find my father's remains. What a pitiful human. This time, I will definitely reach my goal in Tianmen Province. Your courage is commendable. Your courage is commendable. The dragon turtle spirit's turtle shell, which was floating on the river, suddenly sank when it was about to reach the other side of the river. Su Fang was lost in thoughts because the other party mentioned his family. At this moment, the entire turtle shell sank into the river, and then his legs sank into the water. What are you doing? Su Fang was stunned. He did not know why the dragon turtle spirit suddenly sank. However, when he saw that the river water reached his calves, he immediately used his strength to leap up and tried his best to reach the other side of the river. However, he only moved a few feet forward before he fell into the 10,000 Abyss River with his bag. Goo. Under the water, Su Fang drank a few mouthfuls of water as soon as he fell. When he saw the dragon turtle spirit suddenly swim towards him, especially when he saw Gabata's head stretch out. It was actually 3 feet long, and when it opened its mouth, it revealed sharp teeth. So this turtle spirit set a trap for me from the beginning in order to eat me. At this moment, he finally understood. In his heart, he wanted to tear the dragon turtle spirit apart. However, he knew that he was no match for the turtle spirit in the water, so he immediately swam towards the shore. The dragon turtle spirit's precision suddenly increased. Its speed underwater had increased by 10 times. What kind of concept was 10 times? Su Fang had only swam a few feet when the dragon turtle spirit swam in front of Su Fang. It jumped up from below and opened its mouth in front of Su Fang. It completely made it impossible for Su Fang to struggle or resist. Its mouth actually bit down on Su Fang's head and half of Su Fangda's body. Haha, another human cultivator has become my food. The turtle spirit was very pleased. But just as it was about to bite Su Fang to pieces, it suddenly let out a pained cry. Immortal thorn armor. Thank goodness I have the immortal thorn armor. You damn turtle spirit, I'll kill you. Su Fang was wearing a magic treasure, the immortal thorn armor. Su Fang did not expect that. The turtle spirit also did not expect that an ordinary cultivator would have a magic treasure, and a treasured armor at that. Regardless, Su Fang poured all the spiritual qi in his body into the immortal thorn armor. Although it was not spiritual qi, it should have some effect on the immortal thorn armor. Gabata grabbed Su Fang and swam towards the depths of the 10,000 Abyss River. It seemed that he wanted to suffocate Su Fang to death. Even if he could not eat him, he wanted him to die without a burial place. Bang! His mouth suddenly trembled and blood flowed out. It was so painful that it could only open its mouth wide. Su Fang swam towards the shore, releasing a dark light from his body. It seemed that the immortal thorn armor's power had injured the dragon turtle spirit. This is the power of the pill. The dragon turtle spirit was unwilling to see its cooked duck fly away. It immediately chased after Su Fang. Behind Su Fang, it suddenly saw some white mist coming out of Su Fang's bag. Su Fang also smelled the strange medicinal fragrance. Oh no, that meridian-activating pill in the Wu family has been dissolved by the water. Huff huff. Gabata was really lucky. He spat out a beam of demonic light and sucked the white mist into his mouth. It seemed that he was more excited than swallowing a cultivator. Huff. The time difference caused by the meridian-activating pill allowed Su Fang to finally reach the shore. He rushed to the shore regardless of everything. The dragon turtle spirit also appeared on the surface of the river. Its eyes were filled with anger. Human brat, don't run if you have the gut. Look at how you broke my teeth. Come up if you have the guts. Su Fang stood on the shore and could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Thinking about the meridian-activating pill, his heart ached. He could only stomp his feet. If he had known, he would not have wrapped it in cloth and swallowed it long ago. However, he could not deny that it was this meridian-activating pill that saved him. Come down if you have the gut. How am I going to tear you apart? I'm so angry. Gabata could only stare at Su Fang. He could not do anything. Su Fang did not intend to continue fighting with Gabata because he was bitten. Turtle Demon, remember this. Once I master my divine ability, I will definitely come back to deal with you. Grandpa Turtle will wait for you. Gabata could only disappear into the water. There are water monsters causing trouble in the river. Nightmare Cave. Just as he arrived at the forest, he saw a green stone tablet. Seeing the words carved on it, Su Fang almost vomited blood. Why wasn't this stone tablet on the other side of the river? Nightmare Cave. Past Nightmare Cave is Tianmen Province. After entering the forest, he also saw traces of being submerged by the flood. It seemed that staying in the forest would be dangerous sooner or later. He immediately flew away. After 2 hours, although he did not fly out of the forest, he arrived at a mountain. Although this mountain was not a huge one, it did not have any traces of being submerged by the flood. After cleaning a few bite marks and applying some medicinal powder, the pain finally disappeared. Are the goo worms fine? Thinking about the melted meridian-activating pill, he also thought about the other treasures in his bag. He immediately flipped through them. The 3 teleportation talismans left by his master were all there. The flame pattern talisman from the Wu clan was also there. The small golden scroll was also there. When he opened the wooden box, the 3 goo worms were also alive and well. Chapter 28. This was incredible. A beast with a demonic nature was equivalent to a cultivator who had just started cultivating and possessed the demonic powers of an ordinary beast. Su Fang immediately ran. When he looked back, he saw that 3 black bears had stayed behind to catch the piranhas in the puddles. Unfortunately, The piranhas were invincible in the 10,000 Abyss River. Now they had become the black bear's food. 2 bears, howling, chased after him. Demonic beasts. Su Fong could only run as fast as he could. He was shocked to find that the 2 bears were also very fast. It was beyond his knowledge. This world had gone crazy. Even the clumsy bears could fly. Rumble. Su Fong deliberately ran around the trees. This time it worked. The clumsy bears were very fast. They used their bodies to break the trees in their way. As a result, their speed became slower and slower. Roar! Just as Su Fong was feeling proud, a deafening roar of a beast came from the forest. His voice was bone-chilling. Not only did it frighten Su Fong to the point of trembling, it also scared the 2 bears away. Rustle! All of a sudden, there was a huge commotion in the surrounding forest. Wind wolves constantly swept through the world of trees and weed. Even the bears were scared away. That means there is an even more terrifying beast here. He had just escaped from the tiger's mouth and entered the wolf's den. Su Fong was so scared that he immediately ran back. However, that mysterious monster seemed to be able to notice his every move. In a moment, Su Fong ran 1 mile away. Suddenly, a black shadow appeared in front of him. That black shadow stood on top of a small mountain. It was unknown whether it was a wolf or a lion. The monster had 2 tails and was burning with demonic fire. Demonic beast. This was a legendary demonic beast, just like Gabatu. However, this demonic beast was obviously much more powerful than Gabatu. Whether it was its demonic aura or its speed, it was extremely abnormal. Whoosh! The 2-tailed demonic beast was 200 meters away from Su Fong. At such a distance, it suddenly jumped high and opened its mouth in midair. It spat out a whirlpool of demonic wind. The whirlpool of demonic wind fell toward Su Fong. Su Fong quickly ran for his life. The demonic wind first struck the trees and smashed them into sawdust. It then struck the ground and blasted out a 3-foot deep pit. Bits of soil, grass, and wood flew all over the sky. "Oh my God, you want to kill me!" This was the first time in his life that Su Fong had witnessed a monster's destructive power, which left him flabbergasted. But he was more worried about whether he could survive today. "It's hard. Bastard, so you are here." However, an unexpected scene occurred. A figure came from the right side of the sky. It was a figure in black armor. He was actually standing on a flying sword and holding a golden rope in his hand. The rope was only about 10 feet long. It looked like a strand of golden light, and it was limp and weak. As for the flying sword, it was too terrifying. The sword chi it released caused the surrounding air to be sliced apart. "You chased after me for several days, causing me to be heavily injured." The figure suddenly appeared out of nowhere, causing the twin-tailed monster to open its mouth to speak. The black-armored figure coldly shouted from the sky, "Blazing twin-tailed mane, obediently submit to my nightmare cave and become my cave master's mount." Isn't that great? You have to know that in this vast territory, other than the Heaven Gate's Saint Emperor, my cave master is the most unparalleled existence. Becoming his mount isn't a grievance to you. Who, the monster named Blazing Twin-Tailed Mane clearly wasn't willing to become some nightmare cave master's mount. It leapt high into the air and spat out a few ripping wind blades. The ripping wind blades twisted and changed, looking like space itself was twisting. It didn't seem to be very powerful. However, these wind blades quickly reformed and transformed into sharp wind blades that were over a meter long and swept towards the black-armored man. Adding on the fact that wind was the fastest existence in nature, the wind blades immediately flew towards the black-armored figure. One, the black-armored man grabbed with his hand and patted his waist. Suddenly, a ray of light flew out and a spear appeared in his right hand. The spear released a silvery white luster. Under the black-armored man's continuous thrusts, the wind blades were all shattered by the spear. The blazing twin-tailed mane was too fast. In the blink of an eye, it flashed in front of the black armored man. This time, it didn't attack with its mouth, but instead swept its two burning tails towards the black armored man. A wave of demonic fire surged out and exploded towards the black armored man. The black armored man's left hand drew in the air, and several white lines intertwined, immediately forming a circular white gas layer in front of him. Boom, 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 the demonic light pouncing over hit the gas layer and wrapped around the black armored man. Now this is a cultivator. Nearly 100 meters away, Su Fong was sweating. The scorching heat wave released by the demonic fire was practically burning the air. Pring! The demonic fire attack was about to end when the blazing twin-tailed mane suddenly pounced. Careful! Su Fong was worried for the black armored man. As a result, the blazing twin-tailed mane's sharp claws tore through the gas layer. As a result, the black armored man blocked those claws with his spear. Imperial sword technique. The black armored man also knew how powerful the blazing twin-tailed mane was. He pointed with his left hand, and void sword chi flew out, releasing a silvery luster. Chi. Divine ability. Su Fong saw a great divine ability. Just what kind of cultivator was able to release sword chi out of thin air?